Oh, everybody stand up, please. Let's do the pledges. They're over there, remember?
I screwed up, sorry.
But you only have to stand up.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. All right, Amanda, will you lead us in prayer, please?
Let me hit record real
Oh,
quick. We were waiting to hit record.
Did you do that, Amanda?
Yes.
No, it was already there, you just couldn't tell.
You couldn't tell, we moved all the stuff out from in front of it.
is that another one of Roxanne's pictures?
Yes.
Is that one that Roxanne donated?
Yep.
Now it's just, okay.
Okay.
Again, it could be my fingertips, I don't know.
Okay. Amanda.
Gracious God, we thank you for safe travels in tonight. We thank you for your love and your mercy, and we just ask you to lead us and guide us as we make the decisions for this school district and keeping the best interest of our families at heart when we make those decisions. And God, we're just so grateful that you are there to listen and to lead us whenever we need. Amen.
Amen.
I hate those. You put me on the spot.
I'm sorry. Robbie?
I know, Robbie's not here.
86 to us tonight. All right.
He's reviving.
Do we need to amend the agenda?
No, the only thing is, I forgot to change February to March, so it'd be March minutes instead of February.
You did it again?
Yeah, I did it again,
I
sorry.
didn't look at it to tell you.
Yeah, I was so caught up and make sure I had all the numbers and policy right, I forgot to go up and change those.
All right.
I move
Let's-
to approve.
What, the agenda?
Yes, amendment to the,
Second.
We've never voted on the agenda before.
changes.
Changes.
Change.
Oh, the changes. Oh, yeah. All right, we've had a motion made seconded to the changes in the agenda from February to March. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, let's all get on the same page.
Policy, I better.
All right, I know, payroll and bills.
I have questions.
Is Marie on?
What's that?
Is Marie on?
Marie's not on, so we'll try to answer what they
You
did.
guys can probably answer them.
Yeah,
Okay.
Region 9, well, she's probably gonna have to answer this one. Why are we paying them like 28,000? It looks like we were behind a payment.
No, it's probably testing.
It's
Increased
testing.
Sped testing.
Yeah.
would be my
Okay, because they're
guess.
both the exact same amount, so I thought
Yeah.
that was probably the bill to them for all our
Yeah.
services.
Yeah.
But it looks like we were late on one payment.
no, we had some increased services, we had to increase and add,
With the
so.
exact same amount?
I don't, honestly.
Wait, the way-
28,528?
What they do is bill you the same amount, then give you a credit at the end of the year towards next year. Is what
Okay,
they're doing with
that's
those
fine.
services.
I
So
just
we had that
figured you
meeting
might-
yesterday, and I don't agree with how they do the financials with it, because they're drawing interest on it when we should be
know.
drawing interest.
I know.
But
I
yeah,
have a conversation.
yeah.
What is Londano Acosta, Anyer, what's, Anyer? Londano Acosta, for $1,700. Sorry. Who is that? Is that a peer rep? Is that?
Oh,
Is
Yeah.
that a peer rep?
yes, that's what
Yeah,
that
that's
is.
the feeder route.
Okay.
Yeah,
Catch 'em back
yeah,
up.
that's the catch
Yes,
up on the
yes.
feeder route.
The
That's right, because
The
we
guy-
changed from the male to the
Yeah.
female. That's the sister that's being paid. Yeah.
Okay,
They got
cool.
some
I'm glad they
all
finally got, yeah,
Yeah.
had all their.
we found a way to, you know, make it happen.
Yeah, that's the sister that's getting paid now. I had to remember, I go, what's the?
I know.
Yeah, I was like, what? I know that sounds so familiar.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah, wherever they are.
I thought that's what it was,
Yeah.
but I thought I better ask.
Yeah.
And then that CamNet Inc.
That's our
That's-
new, instead of APIC.
Yeah, that's our new people in charge of our security system. Instead of APIC, we deep sys APIC, and they are now a service provider. And I'll go through that when Elena brings, when we talk about the security system. Because we halted the contract with APIC as our warranty issuer, and now it is CamNet, and we're working with CamNet to do transitions for the warranties and everything.
Laptops for Vicky and
Okay.
Spare.
and E3 Diagnostics.
E3 Diagnostics would
That's
be-
the hearing testing.
Hearing testing thing.
Okay.
Yeah, the machine for
Yeah.
that, so.
Nurse does? Yep.
Yep.
Yes. Cool.
I have some questions when
I
you're
have
done.
2 more. Go ahead. I think I already asked that one. Renaissance Learning, we're still using them?
We are. We still use AR testing and Start.
I didn't
Start
know if
to-
they could still be around.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted.
Yeah.
Cool.
And they've actually expanded and broadened. We actually have an agreement for a piece called Nearpod with
Yeah.
them. Also, it's like a resource library. So Renaissance is growing and doing
Awesome.
cool new things.
Cool. All right.
Okay, Lena?
Yeah, so, and I didn't write down the number, but it's Thrill Share Media.
That's our webpage update.
Okay.
It's every year. That's our yearly subscription to them. They maintain the maintenance and safety and security on the website as part of that and allow us to have the app and everything else. So
Okay.
that's the annual contract for them.
And then I had a question, it's on number 25472, the Holiday Inn, and it was for the basketball girls, I'm assuming?
No, that
That's a
was for the
question.
budget conference for,
Okay,
for
okay.
these, for
That's
Randa
fine.
Okay.
and Nicole. So, yeah.
That was my
Yeah.
question, is because I knew we moved them.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then the last one I have is, this is a small dollar amount, but there was a fine for non-attendance to a conference for $250.
No, what it was, not really a fine. It's a payment up because we added to the registration to NMASBO. So it's not a fine, it's a pay up, and I think it was with MAA because I
Yeah.
had one other person attend.
It says a fine.
Well, they've recorded it wrong. It was a pay up for the summer conference going to, that they missed us billing
Registration.
and
Okay.
going.
Okay.
Hi, Kyle.
Hello, how are you guys?
Yeah,
We're good. How are you?
Tyra,
I'm
did you
here.
run- did you run fast?
Pretty fast.
And then I have questions, sorry, Cody.
No, no, no.
I have questions when we get, if we're gonna go over any of the reports.
Marie has all that information. She's not online, so
Okay.
we may have to table that the next month. If you send me the questions, Elaine, I can forward them to everybody
Okay.
and make sure we get answers to them for next month because it's been real difficult trying to work with them since they've been informed we're ending our contract.
Okay.
You know what? Vicky or I could probably answer your questions. I might be able to.
Potentially. But if
Potentially.
you want to ask them all.
Yeah, you can try.
They're pretty general. It's because I do like some of the reports that we're getting. The other thing I just want to mention, Vicki, and I don't mean for this to come out the
She's
way it's
trying to
coming
get on,
on,
but that's the wrong link. So continue and let me
Um,
see if I can figure it out.
we're recorded right now?
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah.
Historically, we had not received reports like we're getting now. So
Okay.
I do appreciate that.
Okay.
And so, I don't know, even as long as I've been on here, with the reports that we're getting, that's where some of these questions are coming from, because historically, we've not received those.
When did you start receiving them like this?
When, I think several of us had made some requests with K-12 to
Okay.
start submitting more charts and graphs, and, which I appreciate, because I like looking at charts and graphs.
Okay.
So here are the questions. When you're looking at some of those reports and it says budget versus estimate, what's the difference between budget versus estimate? Isn't the estimate the budget?
No. But you budget, they give you your budget and they give you budget authority to spend that. Your estimated is what you think you're going to spend for the rest of the year.
Based on what,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like you prorate, you figure out what you've paid up until now, divide it by 9, 'cause not quite 9, how many months have we been in school? 6,
Right.
7, and then prorate it
Prorate it
out
out.
for the
That's
next
how
few
that's
months.
calculated?
That's how that's
That's how I would assume that's calculated, but I have not checked the numbers. So
Okay.
I can't tell you that that's exactly how they would.
Okay.
But do you like it, you like having that estimated what we expect to spend throughout the rest of the year?
Yeah, it's kind of
Okay.
nice to see where we're at.
Okay.
Now that I understand what that is. Okay.
But I'd rather see more detail. I'd rather see a general ledger report with
Okay.
more detail where it has the budget, it has your,
Yes,
you
that's
know,
what I was
your in and
expecting to
out,
see.
In and out,
Yes.
what, if you're doing bars, taking money out of that line,
Yes.
in that line.
Yes.
And subtotal by function.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'd rather
Yeah.
see that. And then it takes your expenditures to date, it takes what you
Right.
encumbered, and
You
then
see
it
it all.
gives you an
I've
ending
heard it.
Exactly,
balance.
100%.
That's what I would like to see,
Okay,
and
I
I
know
asked for it
exactly
all
what
year.
report you're talking about. That general ledger,
Yeah.
yep. By fund,
by fund.
And then
But
broke-
not the 23s, just
not the activity,
not
okay.
the activity,
Okay,
cash balance on the activity.
sure.
Because it's not a budget, right?
Right.
So, and we're just the fiduciary of it.
Okay,
I just like the
Please.
summaries, but give it to the detail right here. Okay, this is another question. Actual versus budget. There are, when you look at the bar graph, there's large differences under direct and the bond building fund, like huge differences. Why is that?
I'm looking to
Like,
where
we're
you're
talking
looking.
400 or 500%.
Say that again, it's budget, it's actual.
So you're on the, like, page 8 of the document?
I think so.
Is that about right?
And I've got it here.
Like
I
the
think
current
so.
revenue versus the budgeted revenue, beginning fund balance, for- is that the page you're
Debt
on?
service, especially with debt service, you only get those at a certain time, and at
Right.
the end of the year, you get a huge.
But shouldn't you be able to budget for that? I mean, it hits at the same
Well-
time every year, right?
Yeah, but it's based on the taxes collected, yeah.
Sorry.
It's based on taxes collected.
But wouldn't,
Yeah.
how can it be off that much?
I see what you're saying, yeah.
It's huge.
Is-
Anyway, that's just,
Marie's not on.
that's just,
No, she's trying to get on, but it's not giving her the option to join.
That one I don't have an
Yeah,
answer.
Jose's having the
Yeah.
same issue, he just texted me.
okay. And maybe, if you can't give me these answers tonight, maybe in the next,
Yes,
like,
we
month or
can.
so.
Mhm.
I know you're
Yeah.
probably very busy getting
Drinking
caught up
from
and
a fire
everything.
hose.
Right, so I completely understand. Okay. The next one I had, so when you look from one bar graph to the next, and Barbara's got them up here, and I can pull them up if I need to, if I need to show you what I'm talking about.
Yeah, which page? I'm trying
It's
to-
the one that shows the prior school year, the current school year, and it shows a bar graph, and then the numbers right below.
Like from July, the monthly ones? Okay.
And they're gold bars
got
and
it.
gray.
Got it?
Uh-huh. And when you look at those numbers in that bar graph and you add up all of those numbers, and then you look down below at the aggregate with the blue bar, it's a completely different set of numbers. And so I just didn't understand.
Where those are coming from.
Yeah.
Without seeing her
Without seeing
Excel
how they go.
spreadsheet, I don't,
Yeah.
did Marie make it on?
No, it's
Oh,
me, hang on, I'm
sorry.
trying to send her an invite.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's-
I don't, without seeing her graph, how she, these
Okay.
are PDFs, without seeing how she actually calculated or where she pulled her cells from for those graphs, I agree, I didn't know how to read some of these.
Okay.
I was confused a little bit.
Give me 1 second, we'll get her on and then you can
Okay.
ask.
I assume.
Okay. I just figured that these numbers should correlate with those up there.
It seems like they should. I
And
agree.
they're way off.
Right.
Yeah.
I
As you
agree.
can just eyeball it.
You wouldn't put those on the same
Yeah.
page if they weren't related.
Exactly. Or that's how my brain
That's the
works.
way I thought
Yeah.
about it too. No, I get you.
And then the next one I had was looking at the bar graphs. The one that shows it breaks apart the contract services, it's the expenses, and it shows in July, and it could be K-12, I'm not sure what it is, but there's a little bit of a variance difference in what you see as far as the trends, and I just had a question on that. So if that's something somebody wants to jot down.
Okay. And which graph is it that you're specifically
It's the
looking
next
at?
one,
The next
the
one?
pie
Oh,
charts.
okay.
With
The pie charts and
And it has
okay.
the contract
The
services.
change in percentage?
Mhm.
Okay.
Want this? Or you got your-
I'm sorry that I don't have it
That's
up
all
where I can. really
What is
answer.
this, do you have his cell number and I'll just send it.
And then.
I just sent it to him through his email.
But it's not this link.
Why is it not?
I
Because
don't know,
that's the
but that
one.
one's not working, so it's a different.
This is a question that Barbara or Vicki
Password.
can answer. So when you look at the aggregate totals
I don't know if you
of
wanna
the
stop and
revenue
try to find
codes
that one,
versus the
cocaine,
expense
but-
codes for the budget, and you have a $5 million revenue budget and a $7.5 million expense budget, explain to me, why is that?
You could have a cash balance that's covering the difference.
Yeah.
Right?
Carryover?
A carryover cash, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. But in my mind, you would still want to show it as part of your budget, even though, I mean, you'd want to
Your
know it's
revenues
there. You
show
want
as
to
a
know that it's
carryover.
there as
So you have a
a,
truer picture.
yeah.
Because it doesn't look right.
Right, because it looks like you're spending more than you actually have.
Yeah.
But there has to be a cash balance behind there that
Okay.
is covering
In
that.
some ways, you have to look at budget as like having checks in your checkbook, but unless you have cash in the bank, those checks don't do you any good.
Right.
I mean, you can't.
Dang
And then.
So that's how I
Ah,
explain to
finally
people how
someone
it
tells
works.
me.
It's like having checks in the checkbook, but you don't have, that's.
The
your
money to
budget.
pay for
That
it,
is
right.
budget. And then your cash is actually what you get to spend. So just because you have budget doesn't mean you can spend it.
I have a card, can't I just swipe it?
Free money.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
come back good
See what I'm
sometimes.
saying, Lena?
Yeah.
You can't. 'cause-
Yeah, no, that's just what's been approved.
Yeah, it's what's been approved, but it doesn't mean that that's what you're gonna have at the end of the year.
Right.
Okay,
Just
Call
depends on what
505.
happens.
Because everything's an estimation, and when you build your budget.
505.
That's
you're
why I didn't
gonna-
just gonna text
understand
it
budget
to her, see
versus
if it works out
estimates.
fine.
Yeah.
217.
Same things.
Nine
They are in
nine.
my world.
Fund
See if you
account.
can answer.
I hated fund accounting. Okay, last thing, just to make
send it
a
and then
note,
we go-
Vicki,
I'll step
Yes.
Yeah.
because I
Marie
noticed
is on.
in going through the
Because I just sent
bank
him an
stuff.
email.
So we used to have a board member, Terry Racher, and she's still shown as a check signer.
That is rude, though, so bank not doing what they're supposed to
Oh,
do.
my.
That's a big time problem.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
a huge
That
issue.
That is a huge
Mhm.
issue.
Former
You
staff
sent
is
them-
still.
I've sent them all the
signatory.
paperwork and they have not updated. I've called them over and over again, so Vicki and I are gonna go down next week and do it in person with them. So I'm gonna need to have
Did we
Cody
do a
come to.
resolution?
Yes,
Yeah.
you did it back
Yeah.
in, we did it back in there and we sent them all the documents and
Okay.
invitations. They have not converted it.
Okay.
And I'm not getting answers from them of when they did it. We
Have
did
you
the
talked to
resolution
Daryl?
back in October.
Have you talked to Daryl?
I never even thought about talking to Daryl,
Talk
tell
to
you the
Daryl
truth.
Lindsay. He's the president of the bank.
Want me to call him?
There you go. Yeah.
Right now.
Get him on the
Yeah.
phone right now.
Is it just a matter of
He can be
changing
part of the
the?
board meeting.
They just have to put Cody in Terry's spot. That's all they have to
Yeah,
do.
that's all they have to do. It's
Take
simple.
Terry off, and we had him fill out this card and send him
Because
everything.
it changed in our system, right?
Yeah,
It
Yes.
changed in Visions,
Then
Yes.
why did
Yeah.
you,
so it's the
As
bank.
far as I know.
Yeah. I'm like,
wait, it changed in visions, but that's where I'm seeing on the
is that where
checks.
you're seeing it?
Yes.
That's our fault.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to
that's
tell you.
Tyler Tech.
Oh,
No,
that's
that's
us.
Tyler-
that's Tyler
not a
Tech
bank.
then.
That's not the
Yeah.
bank.
I gotta double check with the bank too, because they just sent us bank statements when she told us it had Terry's name still on it after I removed it.
Oh, let me close this one out.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's in vision.
Yeah, check
still.
Envisions and see if it was
it's a
changed.
She needs to
fix.
change it.
Yeah,
That's
It's
right.
a simple fix.
yeah.
That when you said that.
Because the last bank statement had, still had Terry on. Chad was removed, but Terry was still on there.
Yeah, Terry's still on here, is right. No, that's us.
So
Yeah.
we need to
Tyler.
ask.
We gotta ask, Marie, can you make sure that we get the signatures changed on Visions and put Cody as the president?
She's muted.
Yeah, but she should be able to hear us.
She's able to talk to you, but she's trying to get on her computer.
Can she hear us?
It's on her phone, and so I think she was having troubles. Like, I just found out from Joe that there was a national Zoom outage, so that totally could have scrambled our number, and that's
Yeah.
why we're having issues.
National Zoom
Yeah,
outage.
but you know what, you might have to get another form.
Yeah, we might have
You might have
to.
to get that form, Vicki, and get
Okay.
Alina and Cody to sign it again.
Okay, so we
And
can
then
get it
Yeah.
scan
uploaded.
it, because we can scan it and send, and do it ourselves, that's
Yeah.
not a bank thing. I mean, it is a big thing, but it's envisions.
Yeah.
Right.
It's-
And the banks don't check signatures,
They
to be
don't.
honest.
No, they don't.
So they don't care.
The only thing we found is the
signatures on
last time
bank.
Terry was still on the bank
It
statement.
does.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right.
okay.
Are you done, Lena?
Yep.
No questions? Kyle, did you get all your questions answered
I
about
believe so.
budget, payroll and bills? Okay, I need a motion.
I'm so moved to approve payroll and bills.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve payroll and bills. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those approved, opposed? We need to go back to the minutes. I need a motion to approve the minutes for March.
I move to approve.
Kyle.
Second, sorry.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the minutes for the March regular meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, do we have some budget adjustment requests?
Well, so I believe Marie's on now if you had other questions you needed verified.
No.
Okay.
There's Marie.
Hey Marie, sorry, it scrambled our join code for some
Oh.
reason.
Somewhere she's muted. I don't know if us or her.
Yep, I see it. But this
Yeah, sure.
isn't set up right.
So where are the bars?
There she is again.
Can you hear us,
I
Marie?
haven't seen them yet.
One of us is muted.
I saw it
Very
was
first
planned
page.
in operation.
Yeah,
No,
very
but she
first
didn't
page,
show
but there's no-
300-something
But there's
thousand.
not the documentation to back it
On
up.
Marie's side, it said
It's
after
just,
and
It's
that's
just a
that's all I'm
transfer.
trying to
Yeah.
show for.
Oh,
I'm still going through.
and then does Marie's have the same thing if you click on Marie's name?
It did have, but it's,
First savings be shut down. Still on their address.
On the address too?
Yeah.
Now you can,
I told her.
Kurt.
Yeah.
Can you hear us, Marie?
You can get Daryl to change Shad's name on there and put Cody's name on there.
Yeah, they still have
Can't hear
Terry's
us?
on the back of
Can
it
you
too.
hear us?
Okay.
On the last statement we got. So yeah, I'll get a hold of Daryl tomorrow.
Joe, can you hear us? I can't hear anything. What in the world?
volume up.
Well, that's what happened last time. I clicked down here and then it like blared everybody
Because I
out.
don't have any idea where she's transferring to and where she's transferring from. And then the operational, it looks like it's in her budget bar, which is just moving money around.
Where's your
That's what
mic?
the I stands for, and the T.
Your internet
T is
connection is
transfer.
unstable.
And the I is
That's part of
intra,
her
intra,
problem.
inter. I think it's probably an inner budget that we don't.
Can you
have
hear us now?
To do head approval.
Anybody?
Can anybody hear us?
Budget for operational, like operational earnings. The 1,000 function, you can only transfer among those.
Gotcha.
Can you hear me
But
now?
Everything else, like the T.
Like a Verizon commercial.
It's got a,
Well, you collect, now, yeah, we can hear you.
There you are.
Thanks,
There you
Joe.
are. All right, there you go.
but can we hear Marie?
How about Marie?
So
What'd
that's
you do
what
to-
T stands for?
You
Had to change
changed
our
the.
speaker.
I can hear you, I can hear you.
There we go.
Perfect, okay, sorry.
It's transferred to
Now what'd you do?
She did it.
She turned off the
Turned off her
video.
camera. She must have had it unstable.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, so it kind of goes along with handwriting without tears. That's what I thought, but I wanted to clarify.
It worked fine to set this morning.
Well, yeah, you know technology though,
Yeah.
just as soon as you, there she's back.
That was it, like.
But she can't, she's still muted.
Marie, you're still muted.
I think it's just what they.
There she is.
Because
I had a glare in the background, I'm trying to get rid of it.
Okay.
You're good.
You're good.
You're good. We can, there, okay. Okay, we've already done payroll and bills. All we need is budget adjustment requests. Do you have budget adjustment requests?
She's frozen.
Sorry, yes, there's a couple. We are doing some transfer bar within the wind farm fund to put up some negative balances within the functions. And then we have an operational bar for an increase, and that increase is for the final SEG that we received last week or a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we put that in the operational.
So that's the only two you
And that's
need?
what we have.
Okay. Everybody hear that?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, I need a,
Move to approve.
Second.
I
Move.
guess, do we have details that make those up? I guess pending the review of the detail per our new business manager, I moved to, unless it creates issues, I would like to table that until the next meeting, until they've been reviewed to ensure that they're accurate.
Marie, do you have the actual bars that you can give us, we can look at? Because you just gave
I
us a
think they're in the
list.
packet.
No?
No.
I'll send them to you, Vicki, if you'd like me to.
Sure,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Yep, I can send them to you.
And the playground is abandoned.
And I didn't have access to OPMS to
Okay.
pull them down,
Yeah.
so I
So-
couldn't see them.
What do we
The other one is initial
table till
budget.
next month, so we keep going?
And excuse me if I might, the transfer bar is fine, but the other bar for the final SEG that we receive from the state is kind of important in our budgeting process. So if I can send that to Vicki and maybe you can decide on it later on in the meeting or something, I don't know. But,
Okay,
it
if
is
you
in
can
our-
send
in
those
our
to me,
budget
I can
process
take a look
to
at the
have that.
operational.
Um,
Did you guys meet to go over the operational allocations?
Not yet, because we
Not
had,
yet.
Okay.
What's your recommendation, Vicki, not to put you on the spot?
I'm uncomfortable with the wind farm because there's absolutely nothing in the transfer of what's happening in the packet we received. Operational, because it is the increase, I would say go ahead and get it done. And we can move it around. It's the final SEG allocation. We can move it if we decide it's not in the right line items, so.
I will amend my motion. So rather than tabling, I move that we hold off until further review on the wind, but we go ahead and approve the operational.
Yes.
Second.
motion been made and seconded to table the wind part of the budget adjustment request, but go ahead and approve the operational part. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay,
okay, audit report next.
okay.
Joe, you still there? You still hear us?
I can still hear you all, yeah.
Okay, it's your turn. Zoom outages are great to deal with. Thank you for letting us know.
I am so sorry, I thought about it too, I give them a heads up that there are some issues with, with Zoom today. It was across the board, we were having to use a lot of Microsoft Teams. All right, let's see here. Are you guys seeing the main presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so, glad I was able to get the link. Thank you for responding so promptly. I had called and shot an email, so I appreciate you guys monitoring that so I could be able to do this presentation for you. My name is Joe Ortiz. I was the audit manager on your guys' audit this year for fiscal year 24. Alongside me was, Richard Liu. He goes to Shilu, which you probably saw his email as, but it's Richard Liu. He's the audit senior. We also had other individuals working on it in different capacities. Daniel Field-Forrest is the audit partner. He's also our managing partner at our firm, but he wears the audit partner hat when it comes to signing the reports. He was also part of that engagement team. All right, so we're going to start diving into the required communications as they relates to the audit itself and our responsibilities and management's responsibilities. So we'll talk about an audit is first and foremost to form and express an opinion on the financial statements. And in doing that, we give reasonable assurance. What that means is we consider different things like risk and materiality. We don't look at 100% of transactions. We sample them. We might look at random samples. We might take judgmental samples. We might do samples based on a scope or the materiality level or dollar threshold. Something that goes above a certain dollar threshold, we'll select all those items. It just kind of depends on the risk in those different areas. There is an inherent risk in an audit that we might not catch all the material misstatements, or there may be a material misstatement out there that we don't catch even though we performed our procedures in accordance with the generally accepted auditing standards. In addition to that audit, you also have if you were in the state of New Mexico and you didn't have any kind of grants that required a Yellow Book audit, you wouldn't have this additional report on the back of your financial statements that you guys see back there. So you'll see one report, which is our auditor's report, and then you see another report, which is the report on internal controls, compliance, regulation, and other matters. And that one gives something called negative assurance, and that's required by state audit rule, and by state law, and that's why we have to have the Yellow Book audit in New Mexico. Throughout the audit, we're required to maintain our independence. That means we have the books right at the beginning of the audit, make sure that we don't have any kind of family members or any kind of familiar relationships with people who are on the board, with individuals who serve in management capacity who can sway financial statement decisions. We also require you all to assume your responsibilities of management. So during engagement, there has to be somebody with something called skills, knowledge, and experience to oversee us performing our engagement. And that individual, whether it be your business manager or your contract business manager, members that we're providing at the end, that gives us that line of independence. And it's a required part of our independence. Management's responsibility and also the responsibility of the governing body, which is your board, is to design and implement, establish, maintain effective internal controls, and that goes with regards to your guys' compliance with grants, contracts, laws, and regulations, and of course your financial statement transactions in general. You're required to prepare U.S. GAAP financial statements. So GAAP being generally accepted accounting principles. And, these are all things that you're required to do. I know in our capacity as your auditor, we also do something called non-attest services, and in those non-attest services, we prepare the financial statements for you all with your assistance, right? So we get your trial balance, we get all the full accrual balances from you all, and we plug them into a set of financial statements and tailor them to Coronas Public Schools. So you'll see at the end of the engagement, we provide the financials for your management, so we get an approval that they're good, and then we get a management representation letter. Also, part of your responsibility is just be in compliance with all the laws, regulations, and your guys' grants agreement. So those are the main three things. There's other items, but these are the ones that really give us that independence in an audit, and making sure we're not reviewing our own work if we're making any kind of management decisions. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the results. So there were some corrected misstatements. There was a restatement of $4,504 for the governments, and that was supposed to be reported prior year. It was so we had to pull out those revenues from this year and put them back into 2023. So
Joe, are you advancing slides?
Or equity, right? We'll talk a little bit about that one a little bit more towards the end of the presentation. We also had an adjustment to accrue $97,000 worth of accounts payable that was incorrectly captured in the correct period.
Joe, can we interrupt you for a minute?
Now,
are you advancing slides?
Especially when I'm...
He muted us.
He muted us.
No, we're unmuted.
Are you advancing slides as you're doing this, or are you?
The slides aren't moving.
Oh, slides aren't moving if you're advancing them.
I didn't.
Can we
I am.
check?
If he'll cut his
I have the corrected misstatement. It might be that the screen's frozen. The two, oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Okay, give me a second. Let's,
Yeah, we're not seeing your presenter
Yeah, we're not
slides.
seeing presenting.
We're just hearing.
yeah, let me
So I was like, this is gonna be a long presentation.
do something here.
And the glitching is our side. I'm not sure what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been
Or
slow for
over
Yeah, you
there.
just, yeah, that's all you need.
Okay, right.
Yeah, now it's moving forward.
Now we're going.
Okay.
Was the
Did he
audit
send this
report-
presentation?
That was my next question.
Okay.
We usually have a hard
We
copy.
usually have a hard copy.
He didn't mail one.
Oh.
So we usually all go right to the end.
Yeah.
So they didn't ask for it. You gotta ask for
Maybe
it.
that's why.
Yeah.
Because he knows.
Yeah, we didn't get a copy because they didn't ask for it. I would have.
Let me see if that's
Okay.
the one that
Do you guys see the full screen now?
Yes.
We did that.
There we go.
Okay. So those are the two adjustments, the restatement of 4,500, an adjustment to accrued accounts payable. When we're in, just like to make it clear in general, especially when there's a forum and there might be potential stakeholders present at the meeting, that these aren't indicative of fraud, right? These aren't indicative of any kind of malice at the schools, at the district. So this is, schools operate on a cash basis. There is some complexities once we start getting you from cash basis to a modified accrual basis to a full accrual basis in comparing the financials. And, you know, we're all humans, so sometimes there's errors in where we're capturing that. So the accounts payable that we noticed on there, it wasn't that it wasn't properly approved, it wasn't an improper purchase or, you know, waste or public monies. It's just that it was captured in the incorrect period when we started going from those different bases of accounting. So this is an accounting function issue and not necessarily something related to fraud or you guys not following your own policies and procedures when it comes to purchasing items. This is strictly a gap issue. So I would like to make that clear, that there was no kind of fraud related to these transactions. They're just a cutoff issue because we have to take them from those different, we can talk a little bit more about those when we get to the findings. Uncorrected misstatements, there were none. This is anything we could pass on that didn't reach that level of a material misstatement. We would have to communicate those with you. There was no disagreements that occurred during our audit procedures related to financial accounting reporting or audit matters. There also were no significant issues discussed with you all prior to your attention. If you called us during, you know, the off season of not having the audit, it's more capacity. It's not a condition of engagement to be available year-round, 24/7. So we do like to take those phone calls. We do like to answer those emails. So if you do have questions, feel free to call us with those questions. Difficulties encountered in performing the audit, there were none. There was a transition in that business manager role where you guys consulted with, I believe it was K through 12, or does that sound correct?
Yes.
Curtis?
Yes.
But, you know, we were able to resolve any issues that came.
I have a question.
Well, they come to an opinion, right? So no major issues there in performing the audit.
Joe, we have a board member with a question.
Other accountants, this is around. Oh, sure, jump in.
Yeah.
Hi, Joe. Alina. Question is,
Hi.
you had mentioned earlier that you all determine for your checks and balances and internal controls, relationships, and this, that, and the other regarding board members. I've never done a questionnaire. How do you all know for sure that you have accurate information from your board members?
So we should be sending out, and it might not go out to all board members, sometimes it's at random, but our team should be sending out fraud inquiries, related party inquiries.
Never gotten one.
And within those fraud and related party inquiries, you should have received an inquiry saying, do you have proper policies and procedures in place? Is there a code of conduct? Is there a conflict of interest policy in place? Things like that. Again, not sometimes we get a poor response, unfortunately. So we'll send them out to a handful. I hope some of you did get those this year, because Richard should have reached out to you all with those. We also send them we do that inquiry with the superintendent, typically the business manager, and anybody involved in the accounting processes. That's typically how we retain some comfort on that. But other than that, when we start looking at internal controls, we look at minutes and things like that to see if the things are being approved. And
Okay. Thank you, Joe.
financial statements and in addition. Yeah.
Okay, and just so you know, we're all sitting here, I don't know if you can see us shaking our heads no, but we kind of took a census and none of us received any in this last audit, just FYI. And then the next question I have
Okay.
is what's your, in this particular audit, what is your materiality limit?
That's something we cannot disclose.
Okay.
Just for the purposes of unpredictability, right? If you had somebody who was trying to perpetrate fraud and we gave them that threshold, say 5,000 or 20,000, they could artificially break up transactions to be below that amount to where we couldn't identify those transactions. So your auditor, they shouldn't be revealing that amount to you because then their procedures ultimately are not unpredictable, which an audit, you shouldn't know all our procedures. You should have some sense of what we're looking
Oh, yeah, I was just trying
at.
to determine.
And
This sucks. I was just trying to determine kind of what you all were looking for in terms of thresholds.
yeah, I mean, I can't give you that number. I apologize. We usually will base it off of either total assets, total revenues, or total expenditures, just depending on where that risk is for you all. And then based on that threshold, that dollar, we'll take the total amount of those. And it gets
Yeah, I know how it works.
applied calculation that we use within our practice savings. But I'm sorry, I can't really
No, that's okay.
divulge that too
That's
much
all
on
right.
that, just because it takes away the unpredictableness of an audit.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. If you have any other questions, sorry, sometimes it's hard to hear over Zoom when we're presenting to a full boardroom, so I apologize. If I don't hear you, just stop me again, and I'd be happy to answer any other question.
Thank you.
So consultations with other accountants. You did consult another accountant, right, for accounting services, consulting audit prep, but not for an opinion. You weren't opinion shopping. Right? Or you weren't saying, hey, you gave me a finding, I don't believe in that, I'm going to go to this other auditor. So nothing like that occurred. Significant accounting estimates that are significant to your financial statements. These are the balance estimates that could introduce some bias, and we always have to perform some procedures over them. Such as your estimated useful life of capital assets, right? How many years a capital asset might last. So vehicle, if you have it as 5 years, it could potentially last 7 years, right? And depending on that number, it's going to affect depreciation and the book value of that asset. So that's going to be estimated useful life of capital assets. So I'll give you a significant estimate for you all. Actuarial estimates related to your debt pension liability. That's always one, right? These estimates are from span across 30, 40 years, and big assumptions go into there. Things probably I really don't understand because I'm not an actuary. But these are balances that they put out, and we basically roll forward your balances on those. But there are some significant estimates that go into pretty large like they're going to close. And then estimates surrounding leases. So that new standards, fairly new standard came out, leases and subscriptions, saying, a lease term is 3 years versus 5 years. And you're not going to exercise that renewal option for the additional 3-year term. That's an estimate, right? There's an incremental borrowing rate when we start talking about calculating present values that you will have to determine for us to get to that balance. And they usually mirror your significant financial statement disclosures, which is your net pension liability, your taxable assets, and your leases. These give a lot of more background on what these balances are and why and how they are calculated and presented on your financials. For overall, your financial statements though are neutral, consistent, and clear from year to year if you were to take a look at them. There were some additions to your notes, that small additions, so this is just kind of a one you have to adopt, right? When GASB puts something out, we have to adopt these things. They could have a significant impact to your financials, they may not. There was a restatement, so this one added some additional disclosures to your financials related to those restatements, or that restatement, which is GASB Statement 100. It just gives a lot more clarity into what the restatement was, how it affects all the balances on the financial statements, and each financial statement themselves. There was also the bulk purchases that came in from from the GASB. This one is, I think, more pertinent and applicable to schools, just because schools tend to purchase a lot of computers. So what a school district called into GASB and asked, hey, I'm going to purchase 200 computers, 100 computers at $1,000 each. They're all similar, the same thing. Do I need to add these to my books? GASB came out and said, yes, they're all similar in nature, so you should be adding these to your books. Well, that triggered authoritative guidance, and now all government entities are having to come up with bulk purchases accounting policy. I believe your district decided to go with the amount that the state of New Mexico put out at $200,000 for bulk purchases. And that's what the Department of Finance and Authority put out there, administration put out there for the bulk purchases in school, which most entities did lean on that as well. Yeah, so that's a new policy that you will need to be aware of when, especially if you're purchasing having these in school. Here. That brings us to the opinion. So financial statement, you got an unmodified opinion. That's the clean, the highest level of assurance you can get in an audit. That's the one you want. That's the one where you can pick up the financial statements and know that you can reasonably rely on these financials to make budget decisions, to make financing decisions, to make any kind of decision that you might think is possible with financial statements. So this is good for not only just stakeholders, right? Your citizens, your all the students, the parents, the taxpayers. So anyone who looks at these can look at them and have some reasonable comfort that the numbers are accurately presented and correct for that fiscal year. There were some findings that came up. So 2023 findings, these are your prior year findings. There was a lease finding that was resolved. You all consulted with accounts this year, right, to get this resolved. They were able to calculate the balance correctly. And there's also the budget authority. So there's some line items where that went over budgeted actuals, went over budgeted expenses, and so that one was repeated and modified. These findings are all in the back of the audit report itself, on the last pages in the audit. I can just bring it up for you all to see, so you have a reference point.
And Joe, we never received, this board never received this audit prior to your presentation. So this is the first time we've seen or heard this, so just bear with us.
Okay, so when we present the audit and we send them to, at the exit conference, we usually will have a draft in your hands before we have the exit. It looks like Barbara was the one who attended.
Barb and Cody were there.
Representing the board. And then the exit conference is Curtis, of course. And then your consulting business manager, and then Marie. So,
last year too.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, we typically will send these out to the board as a whole. And we leave that to management's responsibility. Also, want to make it clear, until we get a release letter from the state office of the state auditor, these aren't public information yet. They have to approve them and say that, yes, your audit is final and okay to be released. Well, that may be another reason why you hadn't seen them yet. But after you receive that release letter, the board should have looked at these at a minimum, the treasurer.
But let me ask you
Yeah,
this.
so I apologize. But yeah, these are the findings that came out of, go ahead.
I have a question for you. Okay, so
Sure.
but when the school has to ask for copies for the board once it's been released by the state auditor, correct?
Right.
And we never got anything last year, and we didn't get anything this year. But it would have been K-12's responsibility to get us copies. Because when I was here as the business manager, I would ask for a copy for me, the superintendent, and one for each board member. Now, if they wanted it or not, that was up to them, but I always ordered it. So did they not ask you for it?
Once you get the release letter, just, we can still do this for you. I mean, it's kind of after the fact now, but If you would like printed copies, we can definitely print them, bind them, and get them out to you all. I just
Well, I
need to know
think
how many.
Vicky's gonna need one to check
Right.
balances.
She's definitely.
She's gonna need
But yeah,
one.
that's definitely, I
Who
mean,
gets the release
these
letter?
financials should be in your packet
K-12.
for the board meeting.
I figured you didn't
They
get
got the
it.
management letter.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
got.
So have
But
these,
yes, that is part of the part of
has
the.
this been released then? Did you receive the letter saying it was released?
Yes, that, and we wouldn't be able to have this.
Exactly.
That's
before-
So that's the
We
whole
wouldn't be
point of
doing
this.
this
That's
if we
exactly.
didn't- it wasn't
Exactly.
released.
Maybe you should have signed that.
Well, it went through the business manager. So yeah, it needs to come.
So Vicky definitely needs last year's and this year's audit, please.
Okay.
Because K-12 will no longer
you-
be our,
You want us to print and bind some,
what's that?
or do you just want the electronic files?
Vicky, what do you want? You want a hard copy or you want electronic?
I can download them from the auditor's website, right? They're just
That's
upload,
good.
okay.
There
I
you
can
go.
do an electronic
correct.
version.
Yeah.
I'm fine with
But I can
that.
also just forward them to you.
If you guys want hard copies though, let's
Yeah.
order them.
No, I just think you're gonna need them.
Yeah,
you're
no,
gonna need it for sure.
100%.
But in the future, Vicky.
Yeah, the entire
FYI.
history of,
No, you should have
We'd
seen
like
them
to have
before
at least
today.
one to look at.
Duh.
at least over a couple decades of audit reports will be on the Office of the State Auditor's website.
Okay, thank you.
Curtis, have you not seen this?
I've seen portions of it because we did
So
the
this-
we did the debrief conference with them, but that
Okay.
wasn't public knowledge at that time
Right.
until they filed it with the auditor, and then the auditor
We
released it
did
in
it
March.
last year. We haven't done anything this
We
year.
haven't done one this year.
Yeah, we did in December. When they were here, when we were in my office, that's this audit. When we sat at the table in there and we did that quick debrief
So
on
we
the
did
morning
the
after.
exit conference back
You
in,
did it on Zoom.
I did it
Yeah,
on
you were on Zoom and Cody was here.
That's why I was like, I don't remember
Yeah,
that.
we did that and it wasn't public knowledge because they hadn't released it yet. Yeah,
Because you were gonna
yeah,
come.
you attended Zoom and Cody was in my office, that's
Okay,
right.
that's right. All right, I'm
That's when it
like,
happened.
But
I
I
don't
thought that
remember
was,
being in the office.
Yeah, you were on Zoom, that's right, because we had to call you to make sure we had 2 board members.
Yeah. Because then you can't say anything until the state
Right.
auditor
Yeah.
releases it. It's illegal.
Right.
Yep.
Our apologies, Joe, we just have a little bit of housekeeping to do on this end.
Okay.
no worries, no worries. Where did my, uh-oh,
so,
where'd my financials go? Oh, come on.
So we had a, so am I looking at this right? We had a finding from 23? And it
It
was
was
repeated in
repeated.
24? Or I'm having a hard time reading it.
That's what I'm reading.
That is correct. So I'm gonna bring up the financials. Let me stop sharing this.
Okay. It's really hard to read, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I looked at it that way. So we didn't have, oh,
I have questions on 24.
no, that book's.
Okay, so let's look at the prior year finding that you're talking about.
athletics.
So
Yeah.
basically, expenditures were in excess of the budgeted expenditures for the year at the legal level of budget control for the school district. So here, if the actual budget exceeds expenditures at the legal level budgetary, there should be a finding, right? That's what the state auditor says. So when we do the comparison to the direct function, or the functions, that's your legal budget authorities, the function. So we have to group them all together and take a look at all these expenses under one function. These were all under the direct instruction for each of these funds. This would be immaterial, right? We would probably not even report on this, but with compliance and state audit compliance, they don't consider materiality. They don't care if it's $1 over, they don't care if it's $2 over. If it's out of compliance, we have to report it. So these are the 4 funds where there was some over expenditure that probably required a bar, and it was repeated and modified because of that. This was a finding in 2023, so we have to reference the prior finding here and then renumber the state audit requirement. I did mention that lease finding was resolved from prior year, so that was a big one. That's a financial statement finding. That's another non-compliance finding. So this is what we call state audit rule finding. In general, this is something required of a state auditor. It's compliance. So we'll go back to the first one, which is the financial close and material adjustments. And this was the improper year-end accruals one that we talked about with the adjustments due from other governments in the amount of $4,500. That was significant, and so we had to accrue it. That was should have been accrued in 2023, but it wasn't captured until 2024. So we had to back that out, put it back in 23. And then there was an accrual of accounts payable that was missed of $97,000 that should have been accrued at June 30, 2024. When we did our test work, we identified invoices in this total amount where services were rendered in the fiscal year 24, and
I didn't get that recorded.
Yeah, they were recorded.
After July 1.
So these were material adjustments, and as such, we had to call them material weakness. I will say one thing about these findings. Fortunately, they're pretty common in the state of New Mexico, just because a lot of the entities operate on a cash basis and then have to take it to those different levels of accounting, which can be complex, especially when introducing things like capital assets and leases, trying to tackle. Just gotta be careful when looking at invoices, right? I always tell people, make sure you're not looking at the invoice date, but you're looking at the dates of service. And if the invoice is paid in August 2025, but the services were rendered in June 2024 or May 2024, those are really expenditures of the 2024 fiscal year under accrual basis of the county for financial reporting purposes. Any questions on that one? So 2020, let's go to the third one. This is the other new finding was cash appropriations in excess of available cash balances. That's a big, really wordy way of saying that there was a budgeted deficit. So there is not enough revenues to cover your expenditures, and not enough for that deficit. There wasn't enough cash for prior year federal accounts receivable to cover that deficit. The ones that were affected were your food services. Like again, I mentioned, unfortunately, we have to report them, even if they are material, just because of compliance. And then the large one was a wind farm project. We didn't have, we had a budgeted deficit of $465,000 there. And let's see here, and that's all the findings that came from our audit procedures. I will tell you guys kind of the time frame that everything happened. So we had the exit conference, as I mentioned, on November 14th, and I apologize to my kids like right now. Sorry, sorry about that. So we had the exit conference on November 14th, 2024. Then we had the okay to print. So after we get submitted to the office of the state auditor,
a long time ago to remember.
and we wait for basically review comments from the office of the state auditor after they review the financial statements, and they provide feedback on the financial bit, and we wait for the release letter. What we say was picking them out, kind of. I don't know how to say it. There were some waiting periods for some. There were some were getting kicked out faster than others. I think they're just kind of shorthanded over there right now. So we didn't get the release letter until December 30th, which isn't too bad of a turnaround for them. And then 5 days after that, it became public information in January 2025 because of that waiting period required by state statute. That was the time frame of the audit.
Joe, you froze.
Thank you, eighth and final year that we could hear auditors. So this, can you hear me though?
We can hear you now.
Can you hear me? Okay, so I was just thanking you all for having us
So I have another question.
Here with you all.
Joe, I have another
Uh-huh.
question, and this is for you or Curtis. I don't remember when we normally have had the audit explained to us in the past. But if it became public record in January and we're just now going over it in April? Is this normally when we?
There is a required report now that was put out that Joe reminded us of. They have to give a public presentation on it. It used to be you could just do it to a committee of the board, but it changed when was that, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Joe?
See, and I used to, when I got it.
So they are supposed to be giving a public presentation, and this is when we get Joe in on this.
It was several years ago, they started requiring it.
Well, I remember doing it, but I
Yeah.
just don't remember when we used to,
Yeah.
when we've done it.
Well, I know personally, when I did it, as soon as I knew the.
Yeah, and just depending on, because we do over,
The next meeting,
we-
right, that's how I.
we do over 30 engagements during that time. So once they get wrapped up, we're coordinating with all the different schools, counties, public bodies to do these presentations. So sometimes our schedules don't align and we have to figure out an alternative. We typically try to get it done within the first 4 months. The subject, unfortunately.
I guess my issue is if
You
there
can-
are problems, that's pushing it out for a board to know how the audit actually turned out. I don't recall us ever having to wait this
Probably
long.
request to be present during the exit conference.
He's not here.
There's a bad connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I think we've had them previously in March, maybe. We rarely do them sooner because OSA just, they're typically, I think last year we got your release letter in January. And like I said, our schedules typically don't align. I think one thing that you could do to kind of be proactive is just maybe asking to be present. The only issue with being present at the exit conference is you can't have too many board members there, right? Or else you have quorum. So it can only be, depending on what makes quorum for you all, it can only be that amount of individuals. He was present, maybe just having a side ad hoc meeting with Curtis and looking, hey, I know you guys already had the exit, but can you tell me the status of it or provide me with an update with the knowledge that you cannot talk about this outside of, that conversation because it's not public information yet.
Gotcha.
But you definitely don't want to discuss it in the board meetings prior to the release letter because then it's going to be documented in your minutes. Any other questions?
I don't.
Again, I just wanted to say thank you to you all. I did mention this was our 8th and final year to do your audit. You will have to go out for a new auditor for fiscal year 25. In that process, we usually do require communications with your successor auditor. We'll make sure that goes. Just move the board papers they need. We'll answer their questions, but state auditor requires us to have a cool-off period of a minimum of 2 years after doing the audit for 8 years. So your district will have to go out for a new auditor. We really do appreciate the partnership we had with you all over the last years and trusting us to be your auditors, and really appreciate that opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you. You all have a productive meeting. Have a great night.
Okay, I do have one comment.
Yeah.
I do not think we want an auditor for 8 years. You become complacent. You become friends. I've never had an auditor for more than 3 years.
Or at
No.
least change the
Yeah.
senior lead.
Yeah, or change, yeah. I just think that's not a good practice.
And Vicki and I both agree. We've already talked about what we got to go out and do for that audit. They set the schedule when they were presenting. That's where it was.
Oh, okay.
So when they came in,
They, who?
Joe, they scheduled us for April from the very beginning. Once they got that release, they contacted me.
Okay.
They says, we're gonna schedule you guys in April. I couldn't get it moved in April because they were already doing county audits and everything else. We were one of the last districts they did in the audit period because of all the transitions and everything. We moved it back right so we get it done before the November 15th deadline. So we were also last on their list for presentations, or one of the last. So April's when they scheduled it.
But it was public record as of January.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I was gonna recommend that we could bring it, as soon as it's released, we can bring it just to discuss it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the other part we can do is inside the RP, because I looked back and looked at the prior ones with these, we can require them to present it within 30 days of the findings. We can schedule the next available board meeting after it becomes public.
That's what I would like.
And we could do part of that as part of that process to do it. But yeah, this is the 8th year we've had them, so we have to go out and start over again with the audit.
Yeah, I always, as soon as they were released,
Yeah.
the state auditor released them, I got my copies and I gave them to the board.
Yeah.
It, not necessarily meaning we had an exit, or, you know, like a presentation from the
Yeah.
auditor, but I gave them to everybody.
All right, anything else? All right, Ms. Principal.
So you do not have a written report. It's been fast and furious. I apologize, but here's your verbal report.
There goes your bonus.
Statistics speaking, we'll start there. We were at 101 students. We've had a couple more move out, and then or a few more move out and a couple more move in. We just got a new second grader. He started today for about 5 minutes and then threw up and had to go home. So poor baby was not quite ready for his first day of school. Still some fluid movement in and out with the wind farm kiddos. We are in the throes of testing. We've completed our 4th and 5th grade, or we will complete our 4th and 5th grade tomorrow. 7th grade, we've got a couple absences that need to make up, and the same with 8th grade. And then we will test 3rd and 6th grade next week in order to make sure that all of our kiddos that need extra time, extra help are getting those services as well. We had our 3rd graders attend Grand Quivira yesterday for a very in-depth project-based hands-on learning. They went and measured buildings and things at Grand Quivira and did an entire math lesson, so that was pretty fun and entertaining for them and engaging. So, and then I think they did an Easter egg hunt out there as well, so had some fun out there. We have already had 3 children qualify for the state track meet, 2 in high jump, 1 in the 100 and the 200 meter run. So track is off to a great start. That was at the very first track meet of the year, so we'll take it. We've got a couple more spots that are hot on the heels. Just need to shave off a few more seconds, and then we'll be taking even more kiddos to the state track meet. So otherwise, I can't think of anything else. Randa, can you?
How'd the kids do an FFA, the judging?
Okay, I wasn't sure if we'd had a meeting since then, so I didn't want to repeat myself. Our produce team was state champions. Mr. Johnson has not yet won that one prior to this year. He's always been second, so to walk the stage with a championship in produce was pretty amazing. And then our wool team was dagnabbit second. They were very close to winning that one as well. And so very successful state FFA judging. I will tell you, I had mixed feedback from the students on the trip with homework assignments and things like that on whether or not they want the spring break back during the judging. Just gonna throw that out there. There were some that said, no, I really do like having a spring break, and others that said it was so much easier when it was over spring break. So we'll take that into consideration as we look at the calendar.
That's going to be part of my update.
You already did? I'm sad to say she might have been the only one that really liked it. I did tell him, I said, if you did not like it, you need to tell your board members, because they're the ones that, pass some of those. If you get calls from students, it's for them to express their concerns. And then also, it's not public knowledge or publicized just yet, but our one that's going for the junior league Olympic team in basketball is approved for the 2nd round of tryouts. So she's continuing on,
Nice.
and we'll see how that goes and what that represents for Corona schools.
Cool.
And we had our spring literacy night last
Yes.
Thursday for elementary students.
What was it? I'm sorry.
Spring literacy.
Spring literacy.
For
So,
elementary.
Region 9, Jennifer Johnson, she came down and kind of built it. They had different stations, and our teachers helped out with each of those stations for different grade levels. Ms. Clough said that they had a really good turnout with that.
Oh,
They provided
good.
snacks and things like that.
Yep.
And then tomorrow, we will have our child fund.
Okay.
We're also going to include like pre-K and kindergarten registration in there to see if we can get kids signed up before.
Before
Before
actually school,
Before the end of school.
Before August, but
High school's going to Isotopes tomorrow?
High
Yeah.
school's going to Isotopes tomorrow as a school field
Where's,
trip.
where's the elementary gonna go this year? Have they-
3 through 6 is going to Fun Trackers May 15th, thank you, and then May 1st, K through 2 is going to go to Ruidoso. We're waiting to hear on the movies. We were hoping to take them to see Minecraft and then go have pizza in the park. But the lady said that they're going to be switching out movies by that time, so she's going to call us next Monday to tell us what movies are available to see if they're appropriate.
Or
for them.
probably 6 kids, yeah. And Spencer Theater was,
That was a blast.
It was a
and they all
blast.
had fun. Yeah, so that was well
well, I
received.
think,
And
do me a favor and have the kids sign a card or something, send it to Dr. Miller.
yes.
Because he went out of his way to find,
Right.
and I have his address and everything, to go,
Yeah.
he went to the office, bought the tickets,
Right.
and then sent them to you guys, so I think.
Oh.
And we have his because now he's a vendor in
Oh,
ours.
it's
Yeah.
this is-
So we can
yeah,
both
so
use that
do
as a
something
beginning.
with these, I really think that would be.
And I thought
Yeah,
that
'cause-
I thought they had written thank you notes, but they may have not.
Okay,
Send
and that's
I'll
fine,
find
I mean,
out.
just
I'm sure
if you
they've
can,
written.
that would be awesome.
Okay.
Because and I have another end for Spencer Theater, so just remind me next year that I have another person whose daughter or something is the ticket person at the counter, and so if we want tickets, she'll just say,
Yeah. If
Okay.
we can,
and we can never get in the
Right.
normal way.
Yeah.
If we
That's
can get them in the fall, that
In the
would be a
fall.
lot
Okay.
easier to accommodate.
Yeah, just
The spring.
Put it
gets
on
so
the
crazy and
calendar,
hectic,
you know, or
but yes.
something that says Spencer Theater, and I'll get with you guys, and then we can figure out what we need to do, okay? Because I have 2 ends now, Dr. Miller and Dr.
Do we need to talk about Roscoe now or later?
You can talk about it now if you want.
Okay, so we did go and attend Roscoe, Randa and me and Amy and Casey went and toured Roscoe and looked at that project-based learning and their what they call the Roscoe model. That was very neat to see how they operate some different things and how they use community buildings in order to expand that learning space. They took an old welding shop and all their kids going for welding certifications travel off campus over to the welding shop. It's like, I don't know, less than a mile to the welding shop to go do their welding, and they've created fire pits and art and decor and things like that for the yard, and then they've taken a retail space in the middle of town and turned it into like the school store, and that's where all their business kids go and actually get hands-on learning with entrepreneurship and business management and things like that. They took an old grocery store and turned it into their early childhood center where they do their Montessori type early childhood, so pre-K, 3 and 4 pre-K, and then 5-year-old kinder is all in that space. And that's kind of their separate learning space. And every kid that graduates from Roscoe High School is graduating with an associate's degree, and then or a certificate, and then they have the option to extend 2 years with the P20 model in order to finish their bachelor's degree while living at home, if that's what they so choose. And so they're potentially even getting master's degrees by the age of 20. They have, Roscoe actually has a full vet clinic. They were harvesting embryos while we were there, and they have an embryology lab, and it was very neat to see. And
Cool.
Gave us lots of ideas and lots of wheels turning. How we implement all that, because we want it done like now, would be, if we could wiggle our nose, that'd be great, but we know it's going to take time.
Yeah.
It would definitely be something that would benefit our kids.
So I have a question for you guys, and you might not know yet. That's fine if you don't. So if we wanted to get into something like that, I would imagine there's a process. in terms of the planning, the budgeting, or the feasibility, the planning, the budgeting, blah, blah, blah. And then you submit that to the state, they approve or disapprove, and then you move forward.
Nope.
Is that basically how it works? How does it work?
You don't need to involve the state at all. It's a local control decision. We can align our budget to the operations of those. But I will tell you this, an extension of what those meetings have cost, I've met with the extension group that worked with Roscoe to put theirs into Texas Tech, West Texas A&M, and Texas A&M universities. They are trying to partner with New Mexico State right now to bring ag academies as the core to rural New Mexico eastern part, because as the former professor Steve Frazee from New Mexico State said, West Texas and East New Mexico are one big suburb. Because of the way that the ranching is there, the way ag impacts them like that. So in the meantime, there's been some grants from our workforce development meeting that we had back in March that the district has partnered with CEN, the group that's helped start this up in Texas, and the Roswell Chavez County EDC that also oversees Lincoln County for a $7 million workforce grant to implement the P20 system, or $1 million planning grant to do that. That's where the seed money is. Also on this, there are 25 superintendents working on this with me as we go forward to do this, and all but 3 are related to the Eastern District Workforce Board. In June, Workforce Solutions is going to give a presentation on workforce dollars for apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship, as well as this educational model, because it's not just a high school model, it's a pre-K all the way through adult training model that the Eastern District Workforce Board has been working on for 3 years. I happen to be on the youth committee of the Eastern District Workforce Board for the last 5 years. This has been their priority, so they are looking at using their workforce dollars to help seed this. Also going on is LFC and LESC has asked our group of superintendents to go give a presentation in Mosquero on May 13th on this, and looking at financing it through the state budget through workforce development, higher ed, and K-12 dollars. So that way it's a workforce model, and it's not just a K-12 where PED tells you you're going to do this. So it's really moved a long way in 9 months. There's been a lot of support and a lot of legislators. Harlan's been working on it with me. Jack Chatfield up by Mosquero, been working the legislative angle. Sonny Liu at LFC, who's their assistant executive director. They're looking at a funding model that can keep rural New Mexico vital.
I'm
that's what it
glad
is.
to hear, and I hope we can keep it out of PED.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
And we can align it to those required courses.
And-
There's pathways already
Yeah.
built that can align it to those required.
We had a meeting with EMU Ruidoso. The junior, next year's juniors may not like hearing, but they may be our guinea pigs with this. EMU Ruidoso is looking at working with us for that early college high school model part of this to raise the expectations to give them access. And us, Capitan and Carrizozo, have already had meetings with them about how we might do a consortium for dual enrollment, because none of us small rural districts take on all the pieces of this. So what are going to be the pieces of how we share it? How can EMU Ruidoso bring those services out to us? Like an example, they just bought the wind trailer that Pattern put in a couple years ago, REC9 had created to travel around. EMU Ruidoso just bought that from REC9, and they're going to make that a traveling clinic. So if we're going to do alternative energy, they can come out. They also have one, I know, but I'm just telling you. But here's the other part to that. They also have a traveling mobile lab for nursing, medical, allied health. So they can bring those out to site, or we go and use Carrizozo's brand new welding lab. They're putting 20 stations in and doing dual enrollment through. They've already got an agreement in place. So there's a lot of discussion, a lot of collaboration going on, so it's moving. But at the bare minimum next year, what we're going to look at doing as a district, and they're coming for a presentation on the 25th, and if anybody can be here at 9 o'clock on the 25th, you want to see what CN does.
The 25th of April?
April, yeah, it's our last virtual development PD day, or virtual day for our students, PD day for our staff.
What time?
Friday the 25th, April at 9 o'clock, they'll be here.
Can you send that one?
Yeah, I will send out an invite. Yeah, I'll invite you guys. And they'll go into that, and they will go through with what those guys also did of stages of implementation and things that could happen, because this is also an economic development model that revitalizes small towns. as part of it. So that's the big selling point right now that we're getting traction with the legislature on in all these discussions. Because 3 of us superintendents and stand rounds went in the middle to ask for $10 million of funding for CTE initiatives in rural. We were just a week too late because they finalized all their budget allocations a week earlier. But that's why they're asking us to come present now so we can get in front of them and look at getting it as a legislative appropriation for next year to fund rural CTE and take it out of PED's hands. Because they're as fed up with PED not getting results as we are, as superintendents, honestly. But yeah, that's where it's working. So we're looking at a 3 through 6 kind of academy project-based learning model because our teachers do a lot of this stuff already. It's just formalizing the practice and getting into collaboration and having them work together. What Casey did yesterday, taking those kids out, is a classic example of what this model can do for our kids. And if we can actually engage them and do that and have our teachers teaching what they do best in those models and group share, and like the example that was brought up today in our PLC, doing Poisonous at Christmas with the 3rd graders, let them grow them, plant them, pot them, sell them, but the 6th grade class does the media campaign, production for ELA, and put it on our website, those types of things. So it's not, you're still teaching your standards at your grade level, but you're using all these projects to center your learning on and apply that knowledge going forward. And EMU Ruidoso is going to be a full partner with us. They're willing to do it. We also have Mesa Lands Community College, Luna, New Mexico Highlands, Clovis Community College, and EMU Roswell are all involved in this right now. So we have 5 major institutions in our state higher ed trying to do that and bring down those barriers for access for our kids in rural to higher education.
What about CNM?
CNM hasn't been approached yet because they don't fit the profile right now because they're an urban institution. In order for us to get those workforce dollars, we got to use those rural. Then it could plan out as a state model. That could be the next phase of that funding that comes out. But we're working with those institutions that are in districts with 1,000 that we are related to a district's 1,000 or less by those funding streams that have been defined by the grants.
Okay.
So CNM and Doña Anna will probably be involved in this because Dr. Alan Moss at Mesa Lands is the president of the Junior College Higher Ed Association that they have. I don't know what exactly the acronym is. There's so many letters and I don't know. But he's there and he's had these discussions already with those institutions, but we're focusing on institutions that serve districts below 1,000 students right now.
And it was really cool to see kids being involved in their education and being excited in their education. You know, so starting in the elementary years, their learning is geared toward what they're interested in. So they're wanting to go to school, they're present, they're learning more. Also another part that I loved was that they talked about homegrown people. And so they had people who had graduated from their school come back and work in their school and in their community.
Because have you ever been through Roscoe, Texas? You have.
Oh,
If you've been down
If you've been there, you know you had to be going there.
That's it, just about. When you go down the interstate, that's about all that was there.
Those facilities.
But
Yeah.
tell them they come from everywhere, don't they?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they when they implemented this model, they went from 300
To
to over
600.
650 or 600.
They're at 720 this
So they're
year.
coming out of district. just to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
there.
Dude.
Yeah.
That's
And,
awesome.
and the other thing that I want to make sure the board's aware of, there is a career-based program out there that's AVID, it's called AVID. It has 20 years of results of getting kids acquainted with career-oriented skills and careers they might be able to go into, because as we all know, our kids only know what they know and they know what they hear. AVID is a program that allows them to go out and research different things and take those skills that you're doing in those things and find out what careers they may be good in. We used to do the old Cooter career analogy. AVID actually does that for us as well to show where kids have good skills and everything else. We've had 2 meetings with them to discuss that program of implementing it 3 through 6 or 3 through 8. The 3 through 6 teachers are really excited about it, so we're going to look at implementing that next year for those kids so they can get hands-on experience online doing that research component that drives all kids and causes their curiosity. It's not that expensive for the investment, and there will be a required training for those that will be out of state that we're going to bring a presentation next month on with those teachers to do. So I'm going to ask for them to go to this if we implement it, because it's a full 3-day intensive training of doing it from beginning to end with kids in that skill base. And it's got proven results, and Roscoe's used it for 7 years, and they live and die by it. Those kids learn real early in life what those priorities are, what you need to focus on, those skills that employers are looking for, and then it allows you to go out and explore those things. Well, you have this type of skill set, maybe you do vet science, or maybe you do phlebotomy in the human realm, and it does that thing really well. And I think if our kids get exposed to that curiosity and knowing what they can, it gives them a lot more options. And there's also discussion with those land grant institutions of doing ag science as the base, because we all know that those are important, because it branches off to so many things, the leadership skills and all that's in there all the way through. And ENMU Ruidoso is going to be launching a program on ag next year, that could be the core, and then you allow those kids to explore out from there as the foundation and going from that. And I met with Shad on Tuesday. He got me hooked in with the New Mexico State Extension people, the Texas Tech people, and we're reaching out to them. And they really want to launch that Ag Academy model, because that's what Roscoe started off as. And they've grown into all these other things, and then they'll offer, 17 different pathways under campus, 17 or some ungodly number that they offer in connection with West Texas A&M, and not all their kids spend all day on their campus. They're on their high school at West Texas A&M, taking those college classes as seniors and coming back and doing their activities.
When you walk through the high school, there wasn't a corner where there wasn't 2 or 3 kids working on homework or classwork, and they were teaching each other and peer integrating, and you just had adults basically facilitating those discussions if they got stuck somewhere or something like that. And it was really, they have a whole pod, like a whole area, big room where there's just rows of tables helping each other with homework.
Are those professors? Are they teachers, professors?
That's
or
their
are
high
they
school
business?
teachers. That's their high school teachers.
Okay.
And the other part of this that President Trosper brought up today from ENMU Ruidoso, they are looking at their accreditation process so they get more of their instructors in our buildings. So like people like our most experienced teachers like Trish or Roxanne who've got 15 years or so teaching in a high school, they're looking at their accreditation and allowing those kids to be eligible to teach their lower level math classes at the college level. Or an example would be, he gave us one, Mike Gaines over at Mescalero, who's their welding teacher, has enough credits and experience, he go teach welding, math, and those types of things as part of that career field and count it. And we will be bringing our graduation credit requirements next month. And then we will be working on the portrait of a graduate after that and working that. We may adjust those credits, but we have to, by June 30th, we have to have our graduation credits approved by the board. What we do is still 24 credits. I figured if we go to this, we might want to look at 26 in the future, so those kids are encouraged to take those classes. But Amanda and I have been working with the high school staff on that. We're going to finalize it in the next month, bring it for preliminary approval, and then any changes we make because of what happened with the law and portrait of the graduate this session, they're waiting to find out what we have to do for the portrait of graduate of a piece like that to put that profile out. But we at least got to have the board approve the new cohort graduation requirements by June 30th.
Yes, Algebra 2 is no longer required,
Yeah.
so we have to, there's some adjustments and some different things.
So,
And how will that affect the budget?
good question. We have to do the analysis. We kind of looked at it. With dual enrollment, it's really a zero.
I was just gonna say, it should be zero.
It's net zero with that. But when you go to look at putting those programs on your campus, where it's going to be. And we've got some good ones going on right now. The biggest thing is we did get that STEM grant from Senator Stefanix that we could use that for our STEM lab. And if we want to put in a multimedia lab or drones or whatever, we did. It's $50,000. It's not a lot, but we at least start. I've talked today with Robert about the multimedia lab because a lot of that multimedia stuff is done through Apple on college campuses, so we have to look at bringing an Apple lab in and what would that cost be and like that. We've done some initial analysis, but until we get the real feedback from the kids, we got the initial ones last year that we did, but ENMU Ruidoso is coming here on May 6th with our strategic planning meeting to talk about dual enrollment for those kids and how they can connect to the communities and like that. They're going to be part of that meeting with us and us talking about the master facility plan and starting that. I'll send out an invite to everybody on that. But we just confirmed that today with them because I want to make sure they were part of this because they're part of their mission is to reach out to communities and allow community education programs to happen even in non-credit areas. So this is a big conversation in Lincoln County right now going on between the university and the 6 school districts they service.
I have another question with dual enrollment.
Yeah.
Are they still thinking about making kids buy their books? Or is they Because I've heard that is horrendous.
Yeah.
We've
We
engaged
can't
in
do that.
it's called the TAP program the last 2 years, and and most of their books have been online anyways, and so we paid $80 for the math book, and I think
we just need to figure out a way to pay for it,
$15
because
Yeah.
when I tried, the first year we had dual enrollment here, and everybody was paying for their books, I was Guido. I was,
we
you know.
didn't have them.
I was ready to
We
chop
covered
people's
the cost the
knees off
last
to
2
collect
years.
the money. It's awful.
Yeah, we didn't have kids pay for their books the last 2 years.
And we are allowed now.
Since I
Yeah.
just said, we can't do this.
Yeah.
We have to find a way to.
Yeah, we are allowed now too to use our high-quality instructional materials to pay dual enrollment books too. I'm not sure how much money we're gonna get. We're gonna get a raise this year
That would be a
now.
nightmare for Vicki to
But I'm not sure how much, but I also had conversation with 3 of the college presidents that want to partner with us. That's Clovis, New Mexico Highlands, and EMU Ruidoso. They may have a plan through their funding they receive, because they received, I think it was like $40 million for the institutions across the state to promote CTE pathways and dual credit enrollment. So there may be some institutions picking up the cost of those books and taking care of it that way.
And they're becoming so much more virtual, like
Yeah.
you don't have to buy a
exactly.
hard
You don't have to
copy,
buy a
and
hard
so they're becoming cheaper and easier to access. And if you manage a library with all of them in
Yep.
there, and you just update them every once in a while to the right version, I think it's doable.
So you have a license and you can,
Yeah.
as many as you need, 1 or 50.
Yeah.
Okay, for the fun stuff, guys.
So I have a question, so
Last one.
the guests that are here with us today, because we're fixing to do policies,
Yeah.
would y'all be opposed if I'm not sure why y'all are here, but.
Yeah, now would be a good time to have them, because these policies are gonna take a little bit, and then we got an executive
Yeah, these policies,
session.
we can move them to the back, so, I mean, unless you guys want.
Yeah, this is like a policy.
Yeah.
Lauren deals enough with policy on his own. He doesn't have to go through ours too, right, Lauren?
Yeah,
You owe me.
Elaine, I was gonna say something too, because I saw Lauren sitting over there getting antsy. He's looking hungry.
Hannah, did you have something you wanted to,
Lauren's gonna go first.
oh, Lauren's gonna go first? So you can build the red tipper over there?
Yeah, so I don't know if you're aware, I got a report from Casey this afternoon that while Kelsey was playing on the basketball court, an adult male came into the court and was sitting there watching her.
Uh-oh.
Exactly.
Yeah, we
So,
investigated.
I understand that security is an issue, and I love our open campus, but the reality is our community's changed. It's going to require more security than stickers on the door asking people to check in at the office. I don't know what security costs. I'm quite certain it's expensive. I know from my experience, it's expensive in an office in Albuquerque. But it's not near as expensive as the lost innocence of a child. And so I wanted the board to be aware as quickly as possible. I cannot go into details because this is all second party for me to tell you, to report. I know Casey was extremely concerned. I know she's talked to Mrs. Insenius about it, and they have a plan in the morning to inform some kids. And I appreciate that. Thank you very much. But the adult that reported it, I trust wholeheartedly. I've worked with him multiple times over several years, and his wife is also a teacher. So I feel that the report was credible enough to report back to you directly. I would like to see the playground fenced in at bare minimum. I'd like to see the playground look like it's maintained, the tennis court, the basketball court. I think maintenance and a tidy campus is less inviting to negative people. And even some perimeter signs instead of the ones on the doors. I think that needs to happen. And, you know, I know you guys have a plan and you have a budget you have to work within. But I'll also remind you that, you know, we've had a lot of money come into the school from the projects, and this is going to be the cost of some of those projects.
Can I ask you a question?
You may.
When you say maintained, can you give some examples of?
Well, the basketball goals all have ripped nets. It's not painted. The surface of the tennis court is breaking up. There's multiple basketball stands that are laying on the ground or tore up or bent. I just like to see it picked up and cleaned. And I have to admit, I hadn't been on the playground swinging lately, so I don't know what all of the playground equipment's like. But a fence along that fence over there by the school buses and one gate, or
No
some
gates.
signs and no gates.
Fire egress, Cody. You
Yeah.
can't do no gates.
Well, they can come through the building, but.
Yeah.
And I know
It's all
there's
right.
another young
Yeah.
person that shows up that doesn't go to school here. I don't remember the name. But the one day I was here, he was in a hoodie and he had a face mask, and you couldn't see him. You didn't know who he was. I asked Amanda about it, and she knew exactly who it was, but it makes me nervous. So I just wanted to report that. I'm not mad at anybody. I just want some action. And because like I said, the children in lost innocence is a major concern for me. And I'm probably glad I wasn't one who saw it. So, but anyway, please ask any questions, but I don't really have them. I don't have an answer because I'm reporting third party.
No, I appreciate you
Yeah,
sharing.
thank you.
So, you know, I will be reporting this to the sheriff's office and Sheriff Mike Woods in the morning and ask him for more patrols in our community as a whole. But, you know, there's options out there that are less expensive and maybe even a call to the state police. Because a lot of times those guys have to do paperwork somewhere, and the parking lot here at the school might be a great place to do paperwork. I've used that in the past to patrol an office in Albuquerque, and it worked great. You know, I do wish we had a plan, and I hope you guys will publicize that plan to parents before the beginning of next school year, at least.
An emergency plan or a plan of capital infrastructure?
Capital improvements,
Okay.
yeah,
Or both.
improvements on security improvements, however you want to label it. But I think it's should be put a little higher priority than maybe it's been being put. So, I appreciate your time.
We've thought more about the buildings and the kids in the buildings and the playground stuff.
I'm sorry this happened.
No,
But this is a good
it's-
segue for something I want to talk about tonight as well.
Well,
So-
Mine echoes yours, so go ahead.
so, but that's mainly what I want to report.
Yeah, I have some other stuff.
Okay.
Okay,
You're done, Mr.
I'm
President?
done.
Okay, so tonight I'd like to share with the board two perspectives. The first is a parent as well as a teacher. 3 weeks ago, when coming off of lunch, I encountered two grown men wandering the playground, making their way onto the tennis and basketball court. This was about 15 minutes prior to recess. I informed the men that they couldn't be here as this was a public school. They told me they were new to town and were looking for a place to play basketball. I believed them, but who is to say that this couldn't happen another time with someone who doesn't mean well? Or maybe our school was in jeopardy that very day. Our playground workers work diligently to monitor all the kids, but we can't be everywhere all at once. Another employee told me of a family that had stopped to take a break from traveling. Parked on the street, they were allowing their young child to play on our playground equipment within school hours. Our teachers physically stood on the playground between these people and our kids and sent the other child away. But again, access to our children is much too easy. Campers with total strangers in them, are literally located across the street. Having had the opportunity to travel to other schools this fall has shown me that there's rarely an open campus anymore. Even schools as remote as Logan have a well-constructed 8-foot tall fence, most with privacy mesh so bike passers cannot see in at all. At this point, we are taking the safety of our kids for granted, and this is unacceptable. It's been a year since I sat in one of those chairs, and the only thing that has changed is that this world has grown increasingly more uncertain. I don't care how you have to break it up. I don't care if my husband and Charlie and Lauren come build the damn fence, but we have to build the fence. We have to act, obviously. Okay, I don't know why I'm crying, because it's a lot. So, the next comments are from the perspective of a teacher. Our students have little to no consequences at times for their behavior. As a school, we have to be able to respond with something. This starts first with the rules that apply to every student. When the rule is in place, it must be enforced. Two of these that come to mind are cell phones are to remain in your locker. This is obviously a high school problem, more or less. No hats or hoods in the school. These small behaviors escalate, and when this occurs, you have students being sent to administration to be disciplined that maybe get a discouraging talking to, maybe. When we consistently fail to uphold these rules from the bottom to the top, teachers have no leverage, and those that expend their energy to stand by the rules lose morale. We must be diligent and continue to listen for subjects and phrases that should not be used casually and tell the kids so. If we don't discipline the kids or have consequences in place, then at minimum, the faculty should be protected by policy. As a school, we certainly cannot make up for a lot of things in terms of behavior, but without a consistent approach to discipline, Corona Schools, being a true academic leader and prioritizing learning, is sure to go by the wayside. I know that we're leaving for a short time, but I am highly invested in these kids and this community, and we do plan to return. I would like to close with one final comment. I know that there is heavy focus on a new school, but a school is only as good as the instructors, the discipline, and the morals that go on within the walls, regardless of how bright the paint is on the outside.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have some questions on the dates of the individuals that came onto the campus.
Today
That was today. for
Today,
yours.
one of them was today.
And what were yours?
I have to look, I don't know.
It's been in the last
3 weeks.
Yeah, it's
3 weeks?
ago.
What was it, 6 weeks ago on the young man? 8 weeks?
About
2 months ago,
Probably. Close to
approximately. So this has been an ongoing issue for the last 3 months, possibly.
For years.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Was Roxanne, does she have something? Thank you.
Circumventing policy.
Thank you. Does Roxanne have something?
I don't know if Roxanne
Oh, is she
had-
there? Still?
Is Roxy there?
Roxanne's on, and I don't know who the other dashed person is that's on.
But they can hear us.
Roxy, did you have anything you wanted to say? You're muted if you do. She may have given up. Stepped away from her phone.
All right, Mr. Superintendent.
Okay.
For all your fun stuff.
Okay, action items, first reading of policy G, which is the personnel policies. The plan is for these, is like I said, is to go through these and we'll make any final revisions in July. Once we get everything approved in the policy manual in June, we'll present those revisions you asked for last month plus these, because these are very general policies and it asks us for meet, and Vicki and I are just getting on board together and looking at the new benefits and budget and everything else. We just want to get some direction from the board on how you'd like us to pursue in these policies, and we can bring some recommendations next month. So I just plan on going through these quickly. The first two, 0050, 0200, personal goals and objectives of the district. These are just the basic ones you follow when you're doing appraisal programs, employment, all those. And then 0200 is required for Equal Employment Opportunity Act for discriminatory acts. So there's that. And then the regulation in 211 is just the procedures we do when there's a discrimination claim. You have to go through with the officers, timelines, everything that kicks in there. And then 231 is the document that we can use as a district to document it and have the complaint filed with us. We already use something similar to that. We need to adapt it because we have to provide back now projected resolution to the person, or projected solution, and the person is supposed to give us a solution as well, which wasn't required before a couple years ago. It was state law. Then staff ethics is 650. Ethics of school employees, what you do. 700 is staff conflict, nepotism, which is why every year we have to hire my wife till she becomes tenured, because then if it does become a conflict when she receives tenure with the district. Prohibited acts for Governmental Conduct Act for board members and myself. And then vendor resolutions, if there's any questions during procurement or anything else that goes in there. 731 is staff conflict of interest. If there's ever a procurement the board has to approve, or I need, with maybe chief procurement officer, that's a document you have to put on file, that there's other individuals that you may have a conflict of interest recusing yourself from the actions. So that way you guys are aware. That's for all state employees, by the way. That's not just school employees.
You have to sign one every year.
Yeah, sign one every year, but
doing something on the side that.
Yeah, usually boards, it's when something pops up, they do it. We could do either or. We can make the board sign it annually at their organizational meeting in January, or we can have them do it upon election. We think about how you guys would like to address that, because if I keep that on file for the year, like the oath that's done by each of the board members, we're good when it comes to policy. So decide how you guys want to do that. If we want to do that every year and just have you guys complete it at a board meeting, we can do that. Standard professional conduct for 750. It's just all the basic conduct expected, duties, profession. These are all in alignment with the state laws with regards they do in there. I mean, it's just basic common sense things that you have to do. And then it talks about investigative process, sanctions you can do. This outlines what our employee discipline manual will be. Basically is what that guide is for, so you guys are aware. And then over on 761 is staff conduct. This just outlines a basic simple, what's expected of staff, what's not allowed, what staff managers are expected them to do. They need to understand what our policies are so they don't conflict with them. Maintain order in their classrooms, all those things. Then over on 850, staff conduct with students. It outlines what's allowed and not. The only thing that I want to point out in this is in the last paragraph before it goes adopted date on the manual. Violation of this policy, if I consider it serious, may result in severe disciplinary action in accordance with policies and disciplines. Retaliatory intimidating acts by any person who has made a complaint under this policy and corresponding regulation can do that. That's also underneath our Title IX policy. So this goes through everything. So if for some reason a student or a staff member makes a complaint about another staff member, they interfere, that gives us the right to intercede. Or if they have a student filing a complaint and you see retaliatory action by that teacher back against them, this gives us the strength to do that. We didn't really outline this in our prior policies. This said at the discretion of the superintendent. This really outlines what the authority I have to intercede in those actions, and it can be disciplinary in action if I have to do it, if they're treating students unfairly. That was added a couple years ago to make sure it was clear who was responsible. Then it goes into regulation on 861, maintaining professional boundaries, outlines all the things we have to monitor as a school district with them. Inappropriate behavior initiated by a student, how you should address them, and those types of things. And then over on 681 is the exhibit with staff conduct. It just gives you the outline of how you work with students, how you manage privacy expectations. We do have a level of privacy when reports are made to us. We can't make it known until we investigate those things. And it goes all the way over conducting home visits. If we choose to do that, it tells you what we're allowed to do and those types of things.
There's a lawsuit happening right now somewhere that a staff member, I think it was Portales, followed the student home and made them do their homework before the mom got home on the front porch. Good in theory, bad in practice, because it's stalking. But that's why these are in place. Some stupid people do stupid things at times. They don't think straight. So then all the way over on 082, reporting boundary violations, suspected boundary violations. That would be a boundary violation if a staff member followed a student home with that. One thing we may want to look at after talking to Dan Castile, do we want to combine these policies into one coherent one that we don't have to make a determination what's about, it's just staff conduct procedures. And I'll bring some recommendations next month, because I've talked to a couple different attorneys about this. There are people that want to clearly define what the procedure is. You're going through disciplinary hearings, and there are some that just wants to have a general conduct statement for all staff members. So I'm talking to a couple of attorney groups that I talked to a couple of them at MSBA, at the Capitol Conference, for the state budget and those things. So I'll bring some further recommendations next month, but I just want to make you guys think a little bit in the second reading. Do we want to keep each of these separate, or do we want to just make a general staff conduct policy and merge these policies into one larger one? And then 0900, gifts to and solicitations by staff members. $250, 100 sets the limits. Solicitation shall not use our influence on parents or students to solicit goods. So if I have an outside business that sells sporting goods, I should not require all basketball parents to buy it from me. Those types of common sense things. I can't use your positions, your influence over students or parents to be able to gain profit on. 950 is a drug-free workplace requirement by federal law as well as state law. They put that in place. And then the notice to employees notified of your rights to employee violate district policy, manufacture, distribution, dispatching of possessions. A lot of this can be handled in a handbook that we're working on to create, and then the staff signs off on them with all these policies in there too. So I have a couple different templates given to me by Dan that we need to do. So.
Well, that was brought up today.
And that was brought up today. We talked about that very today.
Because you're.
And one of the things that's good with MSBA, Dan Castile can come in as part of the policy and give a presentation to our staff on what the changes have been and what the upgrades have been since we haven't done it in a while. He adds that onto the package. But I feel comfortable enough with what we can do that he can give me the presentation and we can go through it there. Non-medical use or abuse of drugs or alcohol, that's for employees. Then over on 1050 and students, and then 1050 is specifically for the staff members, illegal drug use. 1100 tobacco use by staff members and smoking. Campuses have to be smoke-free now in accordance with New Mexico ordinance, so that's what this covers. 1300 staff personal security and safety. Talks about any employee who observes or has direct knowledge of an act of violence upon an employee during the performance of employee's duties or active vandalism of school property, so I'll do that. That also applies to outside school hours by New Mexico statute. So if somebody does something to our teachers in accordance with their job, it does apply, according to the interpretation of the Attorney General. So that gives them the protection and us to be able to report it and have it investigated. Then 1311, the regulation that goes with that we have to follow. 1350, employee assistance programs. If they're having issues with drug, alcohol, mental health, or like that, we can have that put in place with paid time off with those processes and procedures for help. Now, if it's a violation of the district policy that's a criminal act, that does not apply in this case. They come voluntarily forward.
I was gonna say, it doesn't say anywhere in there about that's when they self-report.
Yeah. So we may have to look at revising that because this is unclear on that. As one of the notes I wanted to make, we should probably at least put self-reporting on there because they can't have a crime that happens on campus and then they self-report to do it. So I'll mark.
Catch them, and they go, oh, well, I want to. Nope, dude, you're too late. Self-report.
So I know state had adopted something like that a couple years ago for all state employees. So because they were uncomfortable with this as well, and I'm kind of a little uncomfortable with that. So we need to clarify that, and I'll get some examples of self-reporting prior to a violation occurs. Employee assistance. If there are bloodborne pathogen requirements, we do that training every year online through POMS. We're required to do that every year. It never changes. I think in the 8 years I've been here, I've seen that presentation. I can answer the questions even before the videos play. But these are all the training requirements for bloodborne pathogens, protections that we have to provide for them. How to handle sharps objects, any types of issues, hazardous chemicals on campus. It goes into all the things we're required to do. And it's rather lengthy. I didn't realize that. It goes into hepatitis B, which we do the training on as well as part of that. I see Cindy, I see Vicky nodding her head. It's like this is across the state no matter where you're at. And this might be the longest employee possibly we deal with on this, with all the trainings that are required we have to do. Record keeping, we have to keep medical, any type of medical records and like that. If they report, they need to be placed on leave, those types of things. We do that, employee records. 1,400 wellness programs for communicable diseases. Medical examinations, like for our bus drivers, they're required to have physicals. And those types of things, they do that annually. And those types of things. So this gets into the wellness programs we do, the things we have to maintain it. Universal precautions we have to set them forth because it was put in place by a state act a couple years ago, what food service workers have to do if there's ever exposure to HIV and AIDS on campus. And then 1431 is the communicable disease exhibit. If you want to share this in your employee handbook, this would be a good example to put in your handbook of what's expected to handle those. Cleaning equipment, laundry instructions, those types of things, you do that on place. 1500's workman's comp requirements, accident occurs, reporting and all that stuff they have to do. And then 1511 is the regulation for compensation claims that Vicky would have to file as part of that as you go. Barb, how many workman's comp claims have you ever had to fill in your career?
You know, not that many.
And not that many, but they're a pain in the butt to do.
Yeah, because it was hard to
Yeah.
convince people that they
Yeah.
had to do it.
Right.
Yeah,
It's like, come on.
yeah.
So probably.
Well, and then it is so hard to
half a
do,
dozen.
it detours. 'Cause
Yeah.
I know when Shannon fell down there, and
Yeah.
hurt her wrist and stuff, it just.
It's
Yeah.
easier just to
it's
take Richard
linked-
to the hospital.
Yeah,
than it
it's
is
just
to-
Yeah.
easier to
It's
pay
just-
for sometimes and just keep going, but yeah.
Yeah, and find that 1531 goes into exhibits like early return to work from injury, illness, those types of things. Right now, it's 3 days, if I remember correctly, if a staff member or student is out, we require a medical note to come in. That seems to be a good point for that. But also, we have some situations that are developing where people take the 3 and then go back to the doctor and get 5.
Yeah.
We might want to look at extending that just a little bit because with the number of wind farm people we have go out of state with health right now, I don't want to overreact right now on this, but we do have a lot of people that go back to Texas or other states for medical care that may have to take those 3 days. But with us being a 4-day, we're going to try and encourage them to schedule on a Friday, but with travel, depending when they get in, I'm suggesting we just keep it at 3, but we do have a changing clientele, and there is some flexibility in there. If they pre-approve it, it can be granted by an administrator or myself. So that way, if somebody has to go, like we ran into a situation, one of our students is going to have surgery, they did the pre-screening on a Thursday, now the surgery's scheduled on a Tuesday, so they're going to be gone a week. But we've given that person online assignments, so there is flexibility inside the policy for us to grant it with principal or superintendent designation.
Being a small school.
Yeah, being a small school, it won't affect us that
Well,
much.
and the 3 days is sometimes awkward too, because like at the
Yeah.
stomach bug, if they get it on Monday and they're out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they're like, what's the point coming on Thursday? And then they come.
Yeah, so there is flexibility inside that. 1,600 staff participation in political activities, can't use your position to influence students. Now, parents is a totally different thing, but on the other side of that, when we go to this, as we do our publications for the upcoming bond issue, we got to make sure that we do not politicize it or say vote yes for. And we just put out there, here's what we're trying to go for. Just please go vote for this. So I want to make sure that's what that policy covers as well. 1650 is the retention and production of personnel records and files. What's those things going on? Employment recommendations, Board of Education responsibilities, rules and regulations, employment references, investigation and record keeping. This gets into our record keeping for all employment actions we have. We do have our, I talked to you last month about the destruction of our old records and employee and doing the evaluation. They're coming Thursday to start that process. The worst case scenario is $40,000, but they're looking at over 80,000 records is what they predicted. We don't have 80,000 records, so you're looking at about $25,000 for us to digitalize all this and be able to access it quicker.
How much did you, how much did you say?
It's not to exceed $40,000 for doing it. And what they will do is they'll take care of all the records retention, record storage. We will do the filing system. So let's say Courtney graduates and in 2038 she decides needs a transcript for something for her job. We can go ahead and request it electronically off of there instead of having to dig back through the room here. Or where do we put?
I only dug back to 1960 the other
1960s
way.
in there, and 1954 is back to 1954 is down in the home ec room. So we're going to electronically all that, because when we found them, what was it, the 64s a year had to find the transcript. That was a fun adventure. It took us 3 hours. So now it'll all be online. We can pull it out. So we can pull those out.
People's grades recorded from
But aren't
the
you glad
20s,
we don't have
in the
1,500
safe though,
kids?
just
Right.
of all places.
Yeah, his was very easy to find.
We will confess, when we were going through the filing cabinets down there, we saw a Lightfoot handbook. We thought it was Cody's high school disciplinary record. No, but it was from 1961, so we knew it couldn't be him. He wasn't that old.
Yeah, I know which uncle
I go, did we find Cody's record? I made you keep this for my evaluation.
That uncle was in the military for 3 years, and he was AWOL for 2 3/4 of it.
That was interesting. It was a good history perspective looking at the
got
names
away
in
from him
town.
in the airport. He was handcuffed. They got away from him in the airport in Albuquerque.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
I know we're on policies, so
Yeah.
just quickly. So the company we've chose to go with to digitize all of our records, so that's kept in the cloud? Where's that kept?
It's kept on our secure server for us.
Okay.
And then we can have a cloud option for people to make requests through it if they want to. We haven't got to that point yet. We need to see how many records impacts and what the future cost is going to be. And we go over there, but basically what it is, it's all electronicized on a secure server that follows the federal and state requirements for record retention and security. So we can access it through their third-party neutral site for us to do it, or we can house it internally. I've had some initial conversation with Stacy and Robert about doing it. Most districts keep it out there, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a drain on ours that if we keep it on our own internal, we got space on a new server that was just put in for our security system. So we're going to talk about looking at it, but we may want to keep it outside for state because of the extra security that they can provide with their 3 levels of security that's in compliance with state and federal rule.
You might just want to keep it on just a recommendation.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
That's different from your security system, but.
Yeah.
So you're thinking of doing this, sorry, I was looking at some stuff and some policies. So you're thinking of doing this in-house, or they're gonna come in and do it for us?
They come in and do it for us.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're coming in, doing all the assessment, telling us what's gonna do. They'll destroy all the records we don't need to keep. And then we'll go from
And they're
there.
gonna log all of
Yeah,
those?
they have all the logs. They'll give us a
Okay.
directory, and we even set up the directories of how we want to do it.
We still have financial records that are long over what.
Yeah, we only got to keep them 7 years, and that entire office over by Nicole has them all the way back to about 54, I believe.
It's driving me nuts.
So,
Yeah.
so,
And then they'll be, because this is super important, which you
Yeah.
probably know, so anything they destroy, they're gonna document?
yes,
And
they'll
then-
follow records disposal
Okay.
process and procedures. They'll give us the formal documentation
Okay.
of everything. We keep that on file in a book with us.
And then how will you pull those items up? How does the software work? If you want to pull up Courtney's whatever in 20 years?
They will do
how does
that,
it
they will
work?
do that filing system for us, and then we'll set up the directory. So like, if we want to do it by class, we can do it by year of graduation. They give us a year to graduate, and then we go through that, and we pull Courtney Brandenburg off by a student identifier or name.
Do all of those characters by text, are they OCR?
Yes. They are required to do it to be a CS vendor. They got to meet all those requirements and everything else. So we're doing this through cs.org.
Does
They were the one to do it, so they meet all
handwriting
that. What's that?
Does handwriting convert over or just text?
Everything should convert over by their
I was
system.
gonna say it.
Yeah. They're required to be a CS contract to do it.
You might ask to make.
Yeah,
sure
I'll double
some-
check. They're coming
because there's
tomorrow,
a
so
lot
I'll
of
ask them for
records
sure.
that are by hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
that
Or
1964
typewritten.
transcript that I pulled
Yeah.
out.
You know, or typewritten.
Typewriter.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna put your wife out here for just
Yeah.
a second, but it's a compliment.
Yeah.
So
that's what-
Shannon Lightfoot and I started all of Central's records management
Yeah.
together.
From day
From
one.
Day one?
1945
Yeah.
Yeah.
to whatever. And
Now.
it was a chore, it was a chore, and we learned a lot the hard way.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, it's been a while, I guess, since she was in that, but she is, I mean, I'm not saying you guys
Yeah.
don't, but she's been there, done that.
Yeah.
And so she's someone you guys could pull in if you
Yeah.
have any questions or,
Yeah.
yeah. She
I
deals
also-
in the trenches, I deal up here.
I also have two other people that I've worked with in the state that have used this company before that I can call to assist. One's a retired superintendent that recommended this crew to me, and I trust his judgment a lot. But yeah, they're very good at what they do because they also have the Los Alamos lab contract.
So is it just a retention software? Or would it also do workflows or is it just like a dump system? And I'm not,
No, there's workflows that we establish with it, so when we go to do it, and it could be a continuous workflow that we share because we do have the option if they scan to defend on whether we want them to handle the workflows or us. That's why we gotta see what that final number is, because we do have the right to keep them, and they do the workflow management for us as part of that. So they would come in like once a month and do that.
and so current,
Yeah.
you can, whatever you want to put on
Yeah.
there. It can, and it uses what, Adobe Forms,
Good question. They have their own software. I mean, they've used it and they convert it. You can do it. They do everything to PDF
Gotcha.
mostly,
So-
but there are some JPEG versions they have to do to be able to do because the quality of the version's better. So like the older files, they may do JPEG or another TIFF format or something that makes it, but they choose the format once they scan
Most
and
are TIFF.
determine it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So more than likely they're going to be TIFF and PDF
Yep.
documents
Okay.
that we will have.
Okay,
So.
okay.
I didn't realize I have that deep of a tech discussion tonight. That's pretty
You're
good.
doing better than me, I can't.
So, yeah.
But,
Well, I talked with these guys 3 times before I did it and asked a lot of these questions, but she brought up a couple others that I didn't even think of like that
So
for
this
the
is what we're
signature.
dealing with right
Yeah.
now. So we just bought the module, we had someone manually doing it and you just
Yep.
can't do it. So we just recently got the module where you put the date based on your retention schedule. So someone still has to say yes, purge, because once it's purged, it's gone.
Yep.
Or ours anyway, I don't know about this one, but you might just ask, unless you already know, what is the records management piece with it? Can you set those parameters up, and from the beginning, can they set those up and have a manual, as long as you don't want anything that does it automatically is my
Yeah.
recommendation, but that would be super.
That's my meeting at
helpful for you.
10:30 tomorrow when they're on site. That's the first thing we talk about, because they want to know how they're going to manage that process and what we're comfortable with, so.
Okay.
So yeah, that's our 10:30 meeting tomorrow when they come on site. Okay, 1800 staff grievances, talks about the process, definitions, regulations underneath 1811, levels of a grievance that you have to go through when filed. Then over 1831 is the formal grievance form. We already have something very similar to this, so because it's an exhibit, we can change the exhibits however we want to do it, so we can go from there. Staff grievances level 1 form on 1832, level 2 form on 1833, and then 1834 is level 2 grievance form D, so we have our choice of those. And then over on 1835 is the level 3 grievance final action that's presented by the final person that acts on it, whether it's the board or me. So it could be either, most of the time, if it's a level 3, it's because of a termination of an employee on a grievance. So you would have to deal with that. The board, they have the right to a hearing with you, but it could be you guys reviewing my decision on that level 2 and then going forward. 1900 prohibited personnel practices, talks about whistleblower act, postings required, business sales prohibited, contributions, all the no-nos we have to do being in school offices. The exhibit of whistleblower act summary and those types of things is over there. 1950 drug and alcohol testing of employees. We are required to do it for all our drivers, bus drivers and or suburban drivers, so there's that. There is being a push by some of our districts in our area that we'll talk about in July of drug testing our athletes because of vapes. I know it's an issue. I know we have it going throughout. I just want the board to think as we go forward with our athletic, are we going to test athletics and or students with that? Students is an iffy area in drug testing, only if they're participating in extracurricular activities. So we can talk about that in the next couple of months and kind of think about what we need to do as we do our handbooks, because we've had a discussion initially. I know it doesn't seem like it's an issue, but with vapes, it's issue-wide, and those things have a lot of impact, and those stuff sticks around for a long time. So I just want to make sure I get a feel of the board as we go forward with handbooks, how you would like to proceed. We can talk about it next month. So we can go from there. 1961, drug and alcohol testing of employees. Other than transportation employees, we do have the right to randomly drug test our students or our staff if we choose to do so.
And that's everyone?
That's everyone. It's got to be random, and we got to do it by a third party because we do not want our nurse doing it.
No.
Trust me. I was in 2 districts where we did drug tests randomly, and one of them did the nurse, and one of them did an outside contractor. The one with the outside one was much easier and much better.
And White Sands has been wonderful.
Yeah.
Like with
Yeah.
Tammy
Yeah.
and I living here, they literally, when they went to Fort Sumner, she was able to accommodate.
Yeah.
Oh, she drove to Fort Sumner. And
She
Yeah.
went to Fort Sumner and
Yeah.
tested with White Sands so that we had the record. And so they accommodate.
As long as White Sands doesn't see $60,000, we don't have to go to procurement. So we can look at that later and go on from there, but that fits in with the overall general health and well-being of the staff. 1981, drug and alcohol testing of employees other than employees. It's an affidavit signed. 2050, professional staff physicians, talks about licensure for those for professional. 2150 is the staff contracts and compensations we're required to do. So it outlines the length of contract you're allowed to issue. So that way you can go from there. That's in compliance with state law. 2200 professional staff salary system, which we just talked about today. Vicki and I are looking at that and frameworks to tie that up, because now that the line items will report back to the state budget for RFRs, sorry, but the PED asked for way too much information for too little money on some of this stuff. Ms. Barb can relate.
Yeah. I would push back.
Yeah, we are pushing back a little bit as rural superintendents because it's gotten worse since we won the lawsuit. With what they told me at the budget conference with the line items and functions they're talking about, and having us report down to the dollar by the sub account for supplies and salaries and all that stuff, it's going to get fun. That's all I can say. And I smile bravely because I don't really want to say what I want to say, but
We understand.
you understand the unwritten sign language I'm signing right now.
I was
so.
afraid that might happen.
It is. The retaliation's coming back hard.
That's how she plays. That's
Yep.
what she does, yeah.
So,
But it was worth it.
yeah, it is. 2,400 professional staff supplementary
bags
equipment.
and bags of pennies and they're
I keep forgetting.
You and Stan around because Stan said that. He says we can make our deposits and pennies back to the state for those.
Sorry.
But there we go.
Yeah, I'm very well put in a poll.
Somebody said Canadian $2 bills. Let them do the conversion. Okay, 2450s fringe benefits. Each year the budget shall be do that, so you do the fringe benefits through the budget. 2,500 professional support staff leaves and absences, absence without leave and those types of things. So this gets in all our leave provisions for sick leave and all that stuff. So here's the.
I have a question. Is
Yes.
there a policy on how many weeks staff can take off at any one point?
No.
Unless it's for medical or emergency?
We can create one, but there's no limitation underneath current state statute to prohibit staff from taking multiple weeks.
A teacher or a staff member?
Unpaid,
Let me make sure I'm.
there's
clear.
no limit on unpaid, but we can set limitations on certain things, and that's one thing that we have been talking about, that if we're gonna do this, let's make sure we can do it, and I'll run this by, because I talked to Gino Zamora about this, our attorney, about that. We gotta be very careful how we word it, because we cannot prohibit any medical leave that may impact, but personal leave and things like that, with documentation, I have the right as a superintendent to deny it with practice. Or we could set a limit of that, you have to have 2 pre-approved instead of like currently, I know Barb, we've done this for a while, so stop to abuse it. We can have them be,
So who
be
approves?
use it.
Sorry, so who approve, you approve staff, you approve teachers? How does
It
that-
goes to her, she submits it to me, and then we do it.
So you
We're-
both have to?
Yeah, we both have to approve it for a staff member. If it's an admin, it comes directly to me. If it's a custodian, it comes directly to me. So,
I understand.
food
the
service. So all those things that go on, but we can also say they can have 1 unlimited professional leave, or however we want to set that up with those uses. And for me, with vacation, if anybody's a 12-month employee that has vacation, we're allowed to limit them to a max number of days in a row. It's been done before, because I know superintendents they can't take more than 10 days successive in vacation.
Well, what could a teacher accumulate in vacation?
They can't.
don't.
They don't.
They get
It's
so
only
much-
12 months employees. They get sick leave and personal leave.
Oh, so they don't get
So-
30 hours,
There's
right?
2
Yeah.
days of personal
Personal,
leave
2
in a year,
Personal
and they don't carry over.
They don't carry over.
There's 2 days of personal leave, but it doesn't carry, so you can't, you
So
know,
then-
when you're finally getting ready to retire, you can't have 50 days of
Yeah.
personal leave. that
Yeah.
you-
Sick?
And sick, it's 10 days.
Leave without pay.
Yeah.
Leave with-
Yeah, you dock them, yeah.
You dock them.
You dock them. So you end up with no paycheck.
Yeah.
But to me, that
We
defeats
don't
the
allow
purpose.
leave without
Because
pay.
if they
Unless it's.
If they don't care,
Yeah.
and they have
That's the
other
problem.
source of income,
Well, yeah.
that's BS. We need
Yeah.
to, after 30
Yeah.
days, if you're not here, adios. Here's
Yep.
the door, let it hit you
Yep.
in the fanny on the way out.
Yeah.
Give them 30 days? I wouldn't even go 30
But
days.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
we can decide, right? Can we do
This
that?
situation.
I gotta run that by Gina, because that's gonna be one of the situations, I know what situation you're talking about. I've gotta run it by Gina and see what we're allowed to do. So,
Because that's not fair to the students.
no, it's not.
It's not fair to anybody. It's not fair to the rest of the staff. I mean,
No, you guys
what to
had
talk
to-
about
had to
morale,
2
you
subs.
know?
And,
Yep. So, yeah. Okay, so 2250 professional support staff sick leave gets into those,
Why was it approved? Sorry, I'm getting into probably personnel stuff, but.
Because what-
Why was it
We don't
approved?
have a policy that says no.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really didn't matter.
Yeah.
One way or the other, whether
They
it was
were-
approved or not, it didn't
they were-
matter.
They were gonna go anyway.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. They were gonna walk out anyway.
Yeah.
But there's no recourse for us to say, well, don't come back.
Yeah.
Well, and, yeah, that.
Because it's not job abandonment by law because she notified us of leave without pay.
Yeah. My only issue was I didn't have subs to cover the last 2 months of school.
Yeah.
So it was asked to complete.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like,
Yeah, this will give us more teeth, so we'll be able to deal with it better in the future.
okay.
2,600 professional support staff, personal emergency, religious leave. So we have to look, personal leave must receive, because here's the other thing that we can do with those personal leaves. We have a lot of people just request them the day before. We can set the limitations of when they are due.
Yes.
Yeah, a week before.
Yeah, week before, whatever we feel comfortable with. And usually in the past jobs I've been, it's been 7 calendar days prior to use of the leave. So we might want to look at changing that. So right now it says 4 working days, that could be 7 calendar days. It depends on how you guys just want to define it, so it's either way, you can look at it that way.
Emergency.
Yeah, without emergency, then there is provision in here for me to approve emergency personal leave if they have to use it for a reason. And the other thing that we have to talk about too is right now our bereavement leave is 5 days per occurrence. Now, I don't want to tell anybody to have bad wishes that 2 people die or close to them in a month or whatever it is in a year.
Open, it's not in a.
It's not an
calendar.
end, but we can set a total max we can use in a year. So I just want you guys to think about that, because knowing with our situation with my mother-in-law, knowing the way my daughter-in-law could have been, it was very iffy up until the last couple of months what could happen with her. It's 5 days right now per occurrence that we're allowed to use for that. But there's also no limitation that a person can't claim bereavement to go deal with prior situation. Let's say I had to go back to Ohio with my wife to help deal with the financial state of them. It didn't happen until March and she passed away in November. So,
It worked really
Yeah.
quick. So we did a 12-month, it had to be within the 12 month of, because believe it or not, we
Yeah.
had something 2 years later.
yeah,
And so we had to update ours just
Yeah.
recently, 12 months, and then the first situation, which heaven forbid, you hate families to go through this,
Yeah.
but it was a week, and then the next situation, we had so many events that could occur in a year, and then we
Yeah.
also had immediate, and then we had,
Yeah.
you know, relatives that were further.
That was gonna be
down,
my
and that was
suggestion,
like
Elena. We could do a tiered
3 days.
approach to deal with it. So if it's an immediate impact, like mother, father, son, daughter, in-law of your spouse, those immediate ones, and then your aunts, uncles like that, because like me, I'm the executor of one of my cousins back in Ohio. I'd have to go back and deal with, that could be a secondary tier that would have to happen. So that's just the way, I just want to make sure we're looking at that, because I was going to recommend that so many occurrences in 12 months, you use that for that occurrence, so that way it's on a running clock and we can look at it.
Okay.
So there's that. Leaves and absences without pay. This is one we can look at. Leave of absence requested pursuant to this policy may not exceed 12 weeks. That's more or less like sabbatical opinion. We may want to look at shortening those times. So these are just general policies. We want to make them stricter. I mean, it just does, I mean, it just makes it, and then I believe in here, it was for for a full school year or like that. It goes all the way into all the things, and this also ties into FMLA for situations. Yep. Yep.
Superintendent, no later than April 1st.
It's really hard to find
Or
something.
they change
Yeah.
position.
That would be, we'd place them on, they would be on unpaid leave. We would fill that position because we have to pay them. But we can get more of that. I'll call Dan Castillo on these to make sure if he has any other further recommendations, because I know some of these get a little bit complicated with all the stuff with FMLA requesting and all they have to do, and whether they qualify or they don't. They also have the right underneath FMLA to ask for reduced time if they do that. So this gets into all the FMLA requirements we have to do. Over on 2931 is the exhibit for Family Medical Leave Act. Gets into it.
Do they get a percentage on FMLA here?
That's a good question. I haven't had to deal with it
We
here.
haven't had anybody do FMLA, so
No.
I don't know.
No.
Nobody's thinking
We never-
maternity?
Yeah, but they took.
Yeah, but you have to be employed for a year in order to use it. We have one right now.
Disability.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
short-term
I mean,
disability.
Yeah.
you
then
do
we
have
had
to pay
sick
into.
leave.
Yeah.
Like I worked where I had
Yeah.
60% if
I don't think we do that. We don't do it as a benefit, but we do have to follow the FML rule, but you have to be employed for a year in order to qualify for it.
I know our short-term
Yeah.
disability at the state is just a percentage.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're like-
You can take, well, I take that back. We do have short-term disability, but employees gotta pay for it. It's one of the extra benefits through,
Yeah.
Is it one of the Aflac deals or?
you know, it's actually through, it wasn't BIS. God, what's Brady with? Is that BIS?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's BIS. I just drew a blank. I was thinking, yeah, it's through BIS. The employee can buy this short-term disability to cover that.
Do
Exactly.
y'all do long-term disability?
Yeah, they can do that through
I
a
don't think
supplemental,
Corona
BIS.
does it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think, you gotta look in your book from NIPSIA. I don't
Right.
think Corona does LTD, we do short-term. Or
Brady
one or the
Brady
other.
offered one though.
Yeah.
He might.
Brady does.
I think Brady
Okay.
offers one that
Yeah.
we can pay for, that we can opt into.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's an extra benefit they can have taken out of their check.
That's
Yeah.
the Burba insurance.
Yeah.
So both
That's the
short-term
cafeteria
and
plan
long-term
Yeah.
is employee
So
only?
it's kind of
Yeah.
like those
And then we
Aflac
don't
deals.
have voluntary, we do Brady for the extra insurance because we don't have, Corona doesn't do the voluntary life insurance. Or the, what's the one, there's one that,
Death benefit?
no, it's life insurance, but we don't do it.
Okay.
We get the 50,000 that the school.
Yeah, it's the extra over and above.
Oh, yeah.
They can buy an extra 100,000.
We don't offer it
No.
through NIPS, or we
No.
don't have it through NIPSIA, we do it through Burba insurance.
We cover 50,000 per employee, then they can buy additional, I believe.
Through Burba.
Yeah. Brady has, I think the 100,000 is what they capped at for theirs.
Yeah.
I have long-term disability on
And
my,
then 300,000
like it
is the
shows up
family.
on my
Long-term, but we
thing.
don't have
Yeah.
the other one.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have short-term?
No.
Look in the-
Interesting.
You gotta look in the NIPSIA manual,
Yeah.
because it'll tell you what
Yeah.
Corona has.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, just.
Yeah, moving on. So there's the exhibit, pay without pay. 2933, your rights under Family Medical Leave Act. That's the exhibit you can put in your handbooks for them to understand their rights.
Paperwork Reduction Act?
I won't ask for that one, Kyle, trust me. Oh, there we go. Okay, 2935, the fact sheet on Family Medical Leave Act 1993, all the benefits, all the way over. Then over on 2396, certification of healthcare provider for family medical serious health condition. So if you're asking for a family member, we actually, if we ever get asked, we've always been told, and I don't know what Vicky's been told us there, but our attorneys have told us always use the federal forms off their website because they change all the time. So if we ever get somebody to ask FMLA, we'll have to pull them down from the federal website because they change almost monthly based on who's maintaining them and going from there. So we'll go over there. Professional support, military legal leave. So military leave, if when Nicole was getting called back to duty, she was protected. We had to pay her and do those things, which is good for our country. Sabbatical leave, 3050, you can request it, and the board may grant sabbatical leave to licensed teaching administrative personnel for a maximum of 1 year. That's without pay, by the way.
Okay.
You can grant it without pay. I saw Kyle looking, he says, no, sabbaticals are without pay by law. So that way you can go. Professional support staff, voluntary transfer or accrued annual or sick leave, limits on donations. That's our sick leave bank, 3,100.
Yeah.
That's our sick leave bank. That can do. Those only contribute, can get into it.
So you can donate it to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can donate it. to
Yeah, I
somebody.
remember when when Janetta was so sick.
Yeah.
Everybody,
Everybody
I know,
donated, yeah.
Aunt Dot,
Yeah.
my aunt never took a day off, driving the bus, and she
But
had
then we
a,
decided
she had a
at
whole bunch
some point, and I don't
built up.
remember, I don't think we put it in the manual, but we probably need to. We decided that there had to be a maximum. Like, you couldn't have been here for 30 years and had 600 hours.
Yeah.
You could only do 50 or
The
something.
person donating may
Yeah.
donate already accrued
Yeah.
up to 20 days. And
Yeah.
some
Yeah,
18,
and I think we
20
didn't even
days.
have 20 days. I think we did 5 or 6. But I don't know. I mean, I know it was just something that Travis
Yeah.
did, and so then I could get track of it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Do we have to have sabbatical leave? Are we required to have it?
It's not required if you want to do it, but it's also good to have if for some reason. Like I give this example. If a person is doing a doctoral scholarship or doing a program for a master's, and they choose to be on campus for a reward, like a Rhodes Scholar type of thing, that would allow them to go and finish that degree and come back and still be employed. I would recommend we still keep it in there. I don't think many people will do it, but a classic example could be one of our national honors or national certified board teachers could be asked to be a year-long instructor for that program, and having them do that and teach at the same time, that person will never come back to teaching again, because I know one in Olmsted Falls that did it. You may want to grant them that leave for a year, because national board will pay them to be that instructor equal to your salary, and then you can bring them back, and it's a great value for that teacher, because you can talk with all these other national board certified teachers that are going for it. So it'd be on a limited basis that we could grant it. So I'd say we would just like to keep it in there in case somebody goes down that road or whatever.
Can anything else fall into that?
It's anything related to professional that you would ask to leave and go on, but there's very limited. We could define what a sabbatical could be if you want to do that, but that could be done in administrative guidelines and not necessarily in the policy. In our handbook.
There's mental health break.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are those 3,000.
Find myself.
Okay, 3,000 professional leave policy. So he goes over there, 3011 voluntary transfer accrued sick leave. These are the regulations that are in there, 3112, and then 3133 is the form for requesting it. And going from there, 3132, employee transfer program statement of healthcare professional. Has to be filled out by the doctor, I believe, if I remember, because I had to do this once in my career for an employee.
Yeah, healthcare.
Yeah, healthcare provider filling out the reason for their leave and like that. 3133 is the exhibit for authorization to disclose health information for school purposes, like if a person, like maternity leave. Would be one of the examples of a person has to go out for a long-term disability. This is the form you can use to report for long-term disability. That the doctor's requested they be removed, here's the reasons, and then we can use that, or the doctor can do a letter.
They got to maintain 28 days.
That's a guideline.
Donate it, and
Yeah.
you got to keep.
You gotta keep so many days. Yeah. So new employees that donate don't qualify to get 28 days, so it's gotta be like 3 years down the road.
Okay.
So you can't take advantage of that as you go. Okay, so 3130, that goes in there. 3134, request to donate annual leave. We usually just done it by them emailing us to put it in the pool, but we did have a letter that Karen had that you could donate in, and they just checked yes, and then we would do that accrual. I don't know how Barb did it, but when I got here last year, they asked me if I wanted to donate. I said, I'm gonna get sick days. Why am I can't donate anything in case I get sick, but that's a different thing. But yeah, so there's some document. Yeah, I'm getting close.
I tracked it in
Yeah.
Visions.
Yeah,
I actually kept
do
it
it
in
in
the
Visions.
system.
Yeah.
In the system.
Yeah, and it's.
But I don't know if it's been maintained.
Okay, 3150, I talked already about
Probably
bereavement
not.
leave, professional staff bereavement leave, so we can talk more about that. Just think about what we do for professional staff, vacations, and holidays. It explains 12 months. Employees are only one eligible. Holidays may be established by the school calendar as well as part of that. That doesn't count against your vacation. 3450, professional staff hiring. Processes we have to go into to follow for that. Reemployment contracts, what we have to do in order to do that. Professional staff hiring for the handbook regulation that we could put in. The professional release for background information, since POMS put that in place a couple years ago, and we also have to do it for a certain number of areas. You also have to ask for a release by the person that we're doing the background check on and the reference check, which we already have on our website, by the way. POMS gave them to us last year. So we did that. Background check form, we already have a reference check form, so that'd be an exhibit. Matter of fact, it almost looks exactly like this, but it's a lot shorter because we have the other form that asks all the other questions with this. So we actually have two forms we use for background checks and reference checks. Professional staff certification, fingerprint requirements. So that gets into all that before they're hired and can come on board. Professional staffing certification, credentialing requirements, exhibit if we want to use it for them. Talks about the types of offenses that they said they have not done to verify, and it could be notarized or not. Some districts have it notarized, some do not. 3750, part-time and substitute professional staff employment. It goes into substitute teachers' qualifications that are there as the minimum. Substitute teacher tracking and monitoring, confirming licensure, all those things we have to do to make sure they can be in a classroom. Fingerprint tracks as well. Arrangements for substitute staff members will establish procedures for reporting the need for and arranging for professional staff substitutes. We do it online right now through Google Forms, but Vicki and I are going to look at how we might be able to use Visions a lot better to do that, to track it. Because we do have some people that report it late or don't report it on, and Man and I are going back and manually putting it in, making sure we have all those dates put in. So we're looking at also having a paper backup. Joe recommended that even though you may do it electronically through Visions, those things, also have a paper backup just to make sure you have it so you have double documentation. So we're going to look at those procedures next year. 3861, arrangements for staff members, substitutes. 39 people, professional staff orientation and training. Goals and objectives for the policy for new employees. It goes into the training piece of it again at the bottom that we all have to do. Personnel policies that we have to inform them on, all those things. 4100, professional staff development. That board encourages that to happen, and as the superintendent and district, we make sure we oversee it. We give them professional libraries, conferences when doing district visitations, and it outlines what can be done as professional staff development. 4150 is we ever initiate into a staff or teacher residency program at the university. It outlines the process and procedures for those teachers. This is done because of the Ed Fellows program that was put in place by the state a couple years ago. But you also can enter into residencies with other institutions and not follow it if you want to use your own money. But this outlines what the stipends and everything are for that. We may actually have an Ed Fellows social worker, one of our EAs would like to go back and get her social work certificate. So she's looking at enrolling in that program next year.
Speaking of EAs, there's nothing in here.
They're covering these all professional staff.
Oh, okay.
EAs are covering these professional staff.
Okay.
So even a teacher residency program, EA is a paraprofessional teaching in it. So that's how it's covered.
I just didn't know if it was different, because there was substitute. Okay.
No, subs are a separate category, but our EAs are higher, actually underneath instructional, and they are classified most of the times as teaching.
It wouldn't take her much to
personnel.
get her social.
No, it won't. Yeah. She's already got 18, at least 18 hours as a minor in social work.
Nancy, yeah,
Yeah, Nancy.
yeah. She's already.
So, yeah, she already had 20 hours in her undergraduate. So she's looking at going back, the thing that I wonder about is I met with her today because I have to submit her Ed Fellows request by May 15th. Get her in a program, and then, there's a difference between the PED certification and a full social worker license. So we gotta make sure if she'll qualify for the PED license with the full social worker. I don't want her to buy a bill of goods that we're gonna get you the PED license and not be able to practice all the things out in public. Because we need a full-scale social worker to deal with issues here, so they can advise, reach out to the welfare programs like that in the state. So that way, you can't do that completely with a PED license, because you're not able to act as an agent of the state or district in that case, so.
And with her being bilingual and everything else.
Yeah, and she's very interested, so we're encouraging her to do it. And going from there.
We're trying to hang on to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 45. Yeah.
At least they live close.
Yeah, professional staff assessments and transfers. The assignments are at my request, transfers. Professional staff schedules and calendars, which we'll be working on. I'll give you an update once we get through all the approvals on those later. It talks about my responsibilities and the board's responsibilities for those. 5,000 professional staff meetings. Superintendent will arrange for hold staff meetings that may arise. Doesn't seem we have to do them all the time, but it also applies to our professional development meetings that we do. That gives us the authority to do it. Professional staff extra duty. All coaching schedules will be managed building athletic director in accordance with the New Mexico Athletic Association. I don't know what a building athletic director is. This is arranged by the superintendent here.
Do we have an athletic director?
Me.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's me.
Good enough.
And I have 2 athletic assistants, Amanda and Randa. Next year, we got a couple people interested in stepping up and helping supervise and things like that, so we're gonna talk to them about what they can do, but I do everything where we kind of break it down. She handles transportation, Randa handles, crowd control, and me.
Good for her.
Yeah, she wanted it. She did it this year as part of her internship, and then I'm the one that does all the reporting back to MMA. And Hannah wants to get involved in some scheduling and like that, as well as Monica. I'm not asking Monica to take everything on, but Monica has expressed an interest of being more, and she actually may want to do the background stuff, the concession stands, ordering, and those types of things. So it's really been a team effort around here since I've come on board, and I know it was that way beforehand, but we really don't have many issues that come to that. It's just if I have to throw fans out like I did the first year I was here. But last year we didn't have to throw anybody out in our home games, which was good. So,
Just starting to looks.
yeah.
Nice conversation.
Yeah, nice conversation having.
Shut up or else.
Yeah, professional staff extra duty, we got that one done. Professional staff duties and responsibilities, it just talks about what teachers, administrators, and school staff are supposed to do. The evaluation of professional staff members, so I'll implement these staff evaluations. This is also covers the teacher evaluations are on there. So we're working on those processes right now. This outlines the regulation and purposes of evaluators, what you have to do. Frequency of written evaluations tell you how often you can do them. Like level 1s, you have to do 2 evaluations a year. Beyond that, we can determine to change these. Level 2s and 3s are only required 1 a year by state law. So that way, you guys are aware. And then we go into that with the follow-ups, evaluation programs, licensed administrators, other non-licensed personnel. Professional staff promotion shall fill positions of increased responsibility with the best available candidates. I don't want to hire Joe Smo,
Best,
like you guys
best
did with the
available,
superintendent.
not just because they apply.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
Remember that.
Have I forgotten that?
No, you have not.
Wait a minute, Coach. You hired me.
Remind me.
So okay, I'll give you enough. Just remind me occasionally, I'm fine with that. That's your job.
You were the only one, so I guess we had to hire you.
But you rehired me, so that's your fault. There you go.
That's on you.
That's on you. I got you back.
I got it all right here.
Professional staff termination of employment. This tells you the notice you have to give for those that are professional staff. If we have to do a reduction in force, the process is outlined in that policy, what we have to do. I don't think we ever have to do as a small district. Talks about resignation of professional staff members. It says 30 days written notice that's in compliance with state law. Discipline, suspension, termination, discharge of professional staff members goes into process and procedures you have to go through with those as you go
Are you
through.
gonna have to go through those procedures this year?
Me?
Yeah.
Not yet. You haven't said anything to me yet.
No, not for you, but for some of your.
Yeah, we have to do this for our employee handbook.
Oh.
Yeah, so we have to update them. So yeah, we'll get
In
to
a
it.
literal sense.
No, not yet. We haven't got to that point yet, but we'll get there. So the appeals process, termination, all the steps and procedures you do. So that goes all the way over to
The end?
almost, we're getting there. And then 6131 is reporting requirements of all staff members that can be used in your manuals. Non-school employment by professional staff members. Regular full-time employee districts shall be given precedence over any type of outside work or self-employment. So that means if we work our day, you can't work during that for another job, we find out about it, we can do those things. So it outlines those. And then 6300, it allows the board to set up separate tutoring pay, or actually the superintendent through the budget to do that. They're not allowed to provide tutoring for any students who attend or are registered in any of their own classes except an organized tutorial programs that are publicly funded. So they can't do it during the school day, but there's also a huge gray area in this. What can they do if they're doing after hours and the parent wants to pay them? Yeah, that's always
I
on.
see.
Yeah, you see, like at 5 o'clock at night, Courtney asked Trish to come over and help with math homework. Can they pay them outside school hours? And Courtney's never home at 5 o'clock. I don't know why that was an example. I should have used me.
She comes in early.
Yeah.
We do like some
Yeah.
after-school tutoring.
Yeah, we do after-school tutoring as part of the extra pay they get from us.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
School pay.
yeah, school pays them as part of the benefit, so they do get it at an hourly rate.
I mean, not for outside.
Yeah.
We
And this-
actually at one point ran it through, there was a math program.
Yeah.
That was providing a stipend.
M squared.
Yeah.
It wasn't MC squared, but it was
Yeah.
like
Just like that.
just
Yeah.
like that. It was another entity that was similar.
Professional research and publishing, the board has preparatory rights to publication, instructional periods, advice, and prepare by employees, provide such employees in their own time. Okay, so that just gets into copyright rights and responsibilities of the board if a school employee is representing the school district. Support staff positions, before any new position, superintendent will present a job description for a position. We did all that last year, and we're gonna have to redefine a couple of the other positions this year because of bringing Vicky back on and reshifting responsibilities. So I'll have to bring those up in July to the board or August before the school year starts for approval. So that way, if there's any changes to those job descriptions, I have to bring those forward.
But every single position has a job description.
As of now, yes.
Cool.
So you approved those all last year.
Yep.
And
Just
they
wanted
were
to
So-
make sure.
each person was given theirs with their contract.
Yeah.
And do we have anybody moving from level 1 to level 2 or level 2 to level 3?
Potential.
Potentially one.
You have to move, did they ever mandate that you have to move from 2 to 3? Or you can
No.
stay 2?
No.
You can stay
You can stay two.
Do you have any level 1s?
Yes.
Couple.
Like Monica and those that are just came off the
They just
intern
came
license.
off.
They just came off the alternative, so they
So
had to do 2
they're
years
doing
before
the
they can go.
micro-credentialing
Yeah.
in order to get to 2.
Oh, okay, so they don't have to do a dossier.
No.
No, dossier is gone.
Dossier is
Oh,
gone.
it's micro-credential courses that they
Yeah.
have to do. Which, I have mixed
I'm
feelings
not
about.
sure it's
Yeah.
any better.
It's not.
In fact,
Is
I
it
think
any
it's
better?
worse.
It's worse?
Honestly, yeah,
You don't have
the
to prove
oversight
anything.
of it and the quality is very low, very low.
And a lot of it's busy work.
Yeah,
Like
that's
the
what I mean.
teachers
The
get overwhelmed
the rigor
because
of the
it's busy,
courses
yeah.
are dumb, dumb.
Yeah.
Damn, why'd they go to that? Excuse me.
It's Ped's great idea, figuring to get more teachers to come in, but it didn't.
Dumbing it down to see,
Yeah.
to think
Yeah,
they
exactly.
can, so they don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6,800 is compensation and contracts, what's responsible, the compensation is be listed in the contract. 6,850 is placement on the salary schedule and when you're eligible. 12-month employees are granted at the beginning of the fiscal year. An employee must work 1 day more than 1/2 of the year to receive a step advancement in salary. So if we have a teacher leave at mid-year and wants to come back later on, we don't necessarily have to count that year as a full year of experience too, so you guys are aware.
Oh, okay.
So I used that in silver for 2 employees when they left and came back from
But if
program.
they left to another school district. and came
Then you
back,
have to count the
then you have
experience.
to count
But if they
that.
left and went to private and came back, you don't necessarily have to count that year. But I think for us, if they did it a semester and they had a legitimate reason, it's not that big a deal to give them that year of experience in recruiting. So that's just how I think on that. But I just want to make sure that if that would happen, we could do it. But If they're there a half year and leave for a family reason, I'm not gonna hold it against them.
Okay.
Support staff supplementary pay overtime, extra duty pay schedule that we'll work on. Support staff fringe benefits, depending on how we want to do that, but we do not pay our lay coaches any types of fringe benefits. As they go, they get paid the salary. Support staff leave of absence, that refers back to the policies early on. That applies, they combine all those into one. Support staff conference visitations, they have the same right to attend. One thing that we will probably do is enforce that 20-day rule, as with very few, but PED sometimes doesn't notify us on support staff till like 10 days before on when they do their conferences. So we may want to look at the days requirement for support staff to report, because like, for example, the spring building managers meeting, if we wanted to send anybody to it, which I could have gone as our district representative, our master facility plan and our facility maintenance plan. They notified us 10 days when they finally moved the site to a new place, and it's like, if that doesn't meet that, we couldn't send a person that's in policy, so. But there's also everything in here later on, or that we did earlier, that discretion of the superintendent, I can approve those emergency leaves, and then we could do that as professional leave emergency. Support staff vacation and holidays. This gets into when we talk about the accumulation rates per month in that earlier schedule. We just codify it more for that. Support staff hiring, processes you have to use. 7661, support staff hiring regulation. And then the exhibit that you can use, conduct investigation releases, support staff hiring, 7682, which are very similar to the other documents. 7700, support staff certification and credentialing requirements, fingerprinting again. So these are pretty much almost all the way to the end of support staff, the same as you did for professional staff earlier. 8100, same thing with support staff and training. Same thing with support staff transfers, and 8250. Support staff schedules are the same. 8450, support staff workload. Employees have been on it 1 week in advance of any modifications or work week plan. With this policy, I'll be able to adjust, like, if we want to extend our food service a half hour extra, we can have the budget to do it. Or we want to hire an extra person, the board gives me approval. We can set those work weeks and change those parameters with that as we go forward. So it just defines the work week too for support staff people. Since a lot of those people are hourly, not ours, we do a lot of salary.
Salary, yeah.
So ours are salaried, so we don't necessarily have to notify them of the change in salary, but just a change in working conditions. Okay, 8461's regulations, support staff workload, fair labor and overtime. The reason whoever went to salary is brilliant, so you don't have to worry about the overtime rule that was put in place. Probably that's been around a while for rural, because everybody goes on salary, because you don't know how long, because you can be driving a bus at 6 o'clock at night and that'd be part of your normal workday.
The university learned that the hard way.
Yeah. 8550, support staff meetings, supervision, support staff, the same as the other ones for 8850. 8900, evaluation of support staff, set up the process. Exhibit 1, the evaluation of support staff documents that we could adopt and use. So I'm looking at those. I actually have some from a prior job at Silver that are a little bit less complicated than this. So we could use those. Drug and alcohol testing of transportation employees refers back to the transportation that we did earlier. 9100 support staff termination goes back to the DKA policy. Reduction in force is outlined for support staff. 9200 resignations, same as those. 9300 discipline suspension, same as what we did for professional. They're just defined with the grievance process, and those are. And finally, 9350 non-school employment by support staff members. Gets the duties and responsibilities, everything you can do. And 9400 is the policy for retiree return to work, which was just readjusted this year for 5 years instead of 3 now. So you can sit out.
Oh, yeah.
You can sit out and then come back for 5 years instead of 3 before. For the full year. If you sit out the full year or 90 days, it just depends on what part of it.
It's just the 90 days.
Yeah, that's the 90-day one. Yeah, it's a full year, you can come back and whenever.
They can resign on in May, and, or do it in May and then come back in August.
I think when it was a full year, there was no limit to how long they
Yeah.
could return to work.
Yeah, correct. So, there's those, Mr. President, a first reading done.
Second reading of the second reading and the discussion of policy and MMSB policy review, section J.
As listed.
Specifically. I need a motion.
I
Right.
so move.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded on the second reading of the second reading of the second reading of the policy J. Section
It's long,
J.
we know.
Somebody hit
All those
Cody,
approved?
hit a glitch.
Third reading and approval of section I, specifically.
What happened to G?
We already approved G
That's
earlier.
the first.
That's the first one we just did.
That's what you just said.
Just retired.
Okay.
Yeah.
Motion,
Executive session won't be long.
Second.
motion been made and seconded to approve the third reading of section I and everything else. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Okay.
Okay.
We're to discussion
Calendar
items.
Update.
Okay, I have a meeting tomorrow morning with our legal counsel. The head's trying to enforce the rule that they're putting this year, so we consult our attorneys, but we're going to stick to, as the court order read, the rule from 2 years ago that was put in place. So Stan will be giving us our directions tomorrow of how to address that, and the attorneys will be being advised of how we submit our calendars. Because what they're trying to do is force, well, in a nice way, they're trying to tell if you're a 4-day week and you have any 5-day weeks, you're technically a 5-day week when you have 1 or 2 or so. Even though they may be virtual or other, that's how they're doing it, and they're trying to connect funding to it. But tomorrow, the attorney's going to advise us how to submit that template, and we're going to follow the same calendar we had. I sent out an email to the board, to the staff today about the calendar. We may have to make a couple modifications so we can make sure we have the hours, because they did not approve the 60 hours for both high school and elementary. So our high school, if we have more than 4 snow days, we could be having them make up what the elementary's not, because it's real close in hours of what we did this year. And we're probably going to move our early releases to 2 o'clock to gain that extra hour on those early Fridays, or 2:30, so we can accumulate some time, because this is going to go to court again. We're going to have to file contempt against PED, because I think that's where it's heading because of the governor.
They're saying if you submit as a 4-day week,
Yeah.
they will not count anything on Fridays, ever.
Ever.
You can never do a Friday and get credit for it. You can do them, but you're not gonna get any time credit. You have
So
to
those
submit
days
as a
like
5-day
Memorial
week
Day.
in order to use
Which is in
any of
direct
those.
violation of the rule
It's
that the court upheld
crazy.
2 years
It's
ago.
them trying to control,
Yeah.
is,
Okay,
Okay.
so there's that.
That's really what.
Teacher housing update.
it
We did get the RFP out for demo. There's a site visit tomorrow for the demo. PSFA is requiring me to do an asbestos test on the facility of those 1960, we know there's asbestos in it. So we're in process of doing the asbestos testing. We're getting the contractor on site. The RFP for the demolition is due on the 28th. So the asbestos testing we've done before, so we've asked the proposals to come in with both asbestos abatement demo and non-asbestos abatement demo. So that way we can cover our butts, but though they notified me last Wednesday when I was at budget conference, we had to do the asbestos testing, so I did contact one. We're in the process of getting the CES contract in place. I gotta get a hold of K-12, make sure they get it filed, and he'll be out here next week to do that. Then I can notify them if you're just submitting one for asbestos. So I can let those contractors. We've had 16 contractors respond to the demo RFP wanting information.
Oh, wow.
I was pleasantly
Just for the
surprised.
demolition.
Just for the demo.
Wow.
So be ready. Okay, phone security, Carl ID. It's been resolved. We actually were able to port the emergency number to the 2 numbers that were there. We didn't have to use the 3rd one you gave us. So they're both active. So now both buildings have a caller ID in case of emergency when it goes out. So that's been resolved. So 1911 and the,
Does it still say Cuesta Schools, though?
well, they're working on getting that changed because that's inside the diagram.
the way we had to reroute the number,
Yeah.
like if it would ring.
Went through Questa?
No, it went through the T-Mobile line that went through Questa and came here. So now it's actually ported directly to Plateau.
2026?
Yeah.
4949.
What it shows up?
Yeah.
At some point, it will show the 1911.
Yeah, we'll show 1911, 11, 17.
Yeah, but you guys said there was another
Yeah, it's 11, 17.
11, 17.
Yeah.
Okay. Because there were four numbers.
Yeah.
1911, 1711.
Yeah, 1711, 1711.
Yeah, 19.
Yeah. 1711 and 1911 are two numbers.
So do we still have access to 4949 or?
We still have those as part of it.
2026 is the fax number.
Yeah, one of them's the fax number, then we have a free line
There's another
for
fax
others.
number for the elementary, but we.
Yeah.
But wasn't it, because,
Let it go.
never mind. I thought
And
there
that
was
was gonna be part of the
1151
issue,
or
is
something,
they
but-
have no more 849
Yeah, they have
numbers.
no 849
And
numbers.
so we had to,
They've exhausted all their 849 numbers for Plateau, and they own those domains.
we had to work some things around, and that's why it had to be rerouted through Quest.
Okay, Alina,
All right.
Yeah.
security system.
Yes, and thank you for putting this on the agenda, Curtis.
Yep.
So, I had come to the school last, not this Tuesday, but Tuesday before. And I stopped at the keypad because I parked over here. And I thought, oh, I wonder if I push the button or what I do. And so I thought, well, I'll just see if it's locked. So I walked right in. I could have gone anywhere I wanted to go.
There a sign on that door?
I'm
just
sorry,
saying.
but I walked through and Hannah, not this Hannah, other Hannah,
Yeah.
Seeley, she's on her cell phone and she acknowledged me. She was out and I believe she walked in and she acknowledged me. So I'm not sure who, my first question. Nobody can see, this has happened
Yeah.
on more than once occasion, now we have a security system. Why is it not locked?
Why is it not working?
Well, here's the issue with the doors. Okay, here's what's happening. Because of the wind and the sensors on the door, it is setting off fire and access alarms, even if they're secured or unsecured, on the doors. We had a fire marshal inspection, which came in right before break 2. We have 2 doors sets we have to replace. What happened in transit, APIC did not come out and do their closeout. So we've changed vendors to CamNet. What we have to do is the 4 door sets that have been identified as issues is one on the auditorium, the door on the end of the pod, which doesn't even open at all, one on the elementary, and that door.
In that door.
It is sending off alarms to the county, and once we get over 10 alarms, it does it. So we've had to keep that door unlocked, and I don't want to say kill the sensors, but we still have it in, but it's sending out alarms at a rate of 7 to 12 a day. It's going on. I have CamNet working on a door solution to it. Matter of fact, I just got an email from them today. They recommended a company out of Albuquerque, overhead door, but they are not a Verkada approved vendor yet. I am meeting with Verkada on Tuesday. The closest Verkada approved vendor for their doors and their systems, not to void the warranties, is in El Paso. We have called him twice. He doesn't want to come up this far to do that. So Verkada is working on a solution for us. They'll have an answer for me Tuesday. The company out of Albuquerque should have their approval because they've gone through their process. But what's happening is, because the age of the doors and the way APIC installed them, the sensors are sending off alarms all the time. So we had to, basically what the guys at CamNet said, we had to dumb down the sensors so they wouldn't be going off all the time. And the easiest way to do is to keep the doors toggled. Once those doors come in, which is a summer project, it's gonna be noisy. I made the choice not to do it during testing right now, to come in and do it, because they're gonna have to pull the doors out, chisel them out, put no frames in and everything else, and do those things. But that was the issue, and I questioned them because they never came out and closed the project with APIC. That's how CamNet get involved. So all we have to do underneath the warranty is pay the labor
And, well, we got to do the doors because that's our responsibility. We didn't have them do it. But we have to pay the labor for them to come out and rewire those doors and everything else when they come in. Yeah.
Your camera
So
just zoomed in
here's-
by itself. That was
Here's
weird.
my,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry, the timing of all of this, it's so,
Yeah.
it's unfortunate we're having to deal with all these issues.
Mhm.
It's not what it used to be, like Lauren has said, sadly enough. So I don't have children at the co-op, and I don't allow anybody,
Mhm.
any of the public past the lobbies. And we have people that watch that 24/7, in addition to our own dispatch, in addition to my MSRs. By the way, I've resigned from the co-op. I'm not there any longer, by the way. So I keep saying my, because I worked there for 29 years.
Yeah.
So. But I guess I just have a real issue. Anybody can walk into these schools right now. We're an open target. We've got to do something. If we can't lock them, we need to put somebody sitting out here that watches that front door. I'm sorry. We got to do something.
Yeah, because the camera system doesn't work, the sensors aren't working on those doors that we installed. So we can look at it. I mean, we've talked about several things of what to do. Yeah, we can look at a solution and doing it, but I'm going to make sure that we get those doors replaced and do that, and then put the cameras in. And make
And
sure
I
those
know,
cameras
and
are
I'm
operating.
sorry, because of the way this school was designed
Yeah.
back in the day, this wasn't a problem. You
Yeah.
know, like, you guys know, you go to other schools, when Coel was in Capitan,
Yeah.
I knew. When I went to Capitan schools, I had to go into the vestibule, and you couldn't get past the secretary.
Yeah.
And sometimes you couldn't even get into the vestibule, and that was, but in the other parts of the school where it was just staff, and nobody
Yeah.
was watching, you couldn't open any of those doors. You had to have a badge, or you had to buzz, and you had to give a lot of information before they would let you in. I just couldn't believe, and I mean, I hear you.
Yeah.
But we can't just leave this where anybody can walk in these doors and do whatever the heck they want. Here's my other issue. Sorry. So I was checking Courtney out because we had eye appointments. And I know you guys know me, and maybe it's different for somebody else. I don't know. I got done with my meeting, and then I needed to check her out. I signed her out. And, you know, there was something else going on, so I was like, do I just go down and get her? Yeah, just go down and get her. Are we allowing people just to go down the hallways to get students?
We normally go down and call the
We
offices.
usually go down and get them. It was because it was you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Normally, I
Okay.
go down the hall and I.
Okay.
Or we call into
Yeah.
the classrooms to do it.
And you should be
To
concerned
bring-
about me.
I will duly note.
We will duly note that next time.
That's not allowed.
Okay, Amanda, remember to put her picture on the profile inside Verkada.
You'll be the first page
Yeah.
of most wanted
Don't
section.
tackle me as I go down.
Now that she's no longer with the co-op, I would be
Yeah.
concerned.
And to be honest.
She's got a lot of
even-
time on her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, so I don't know
Uh-oh.
if y'all noticed, but I do have more time on my hands.
Yeah.
Would you come sit in the hallways and?
Yeah. You beat me to the punch.
How much does that y'all
So-
pay?
Nothing at this point.
Wait, you're a board member, you
Yeah,
can't
you can't get paid.
Yeah, volunteer.
So-
Part of the problems with the doors also is even this one and the one on the front of the elementary, even when they are locked,
Yeah.
they don't always catch.
Yeah.
So if you just walk out of it and you let it go and you don't turn around and you
Yeah,
push
I know
on
the
it,
elementary
it
did
doesn't
that.
matter.
Yeah.
It's not locked.
Well, I
So there
used to
are
have
lots
my
of
mirror there
issues.
where I could see.
Well,
And Nicole does.
Yeah.
She can see.
So-
The elementary is much more secure than this
So
building.
what
I really-
Cameras are-
should happen if it was set
She
up
only has
right?
one door, she only has the doors here on this, all the other ones are locked and secured. But her issue is that door doesn't secure in the front too often, and does that,
So
Yeah.
what
Shouldn't
should
like
happen
that.
if they
So-
built it right?
So
What else,
what,
Nicole?
can I
If
say,
it goes
can I
however
add
many
something?
seconds, right, it doesn't,
There
it
should be an
should
alarm.
start, yeah,
Yeah.
it should start.
Just
like
about the monitor,
Yeah.
it's behind me.
None of that's working.
Yeah,
So-
so
Oh,
we
because the wiring we
Yeah.
had to do, the way
Right,
the monitor had
and
to
I'm
be put
just
in.
like,
Your
when
office
can we?
to make it where you can see it.
You know, yeah, I've talked about that. We need to just get together and do it, because I can't do it by myself.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
We're gonna have to move the port for the,
Yeah.
so.
But yes, also, the wiring is in the wrong spot. And I'm just like,
Can
okay,
this
so when are we
CamNet
gonna?
redo that then?
CamNet is one of
When
the
are we
things
gonna
that
do
they
that?
made the recommendation on for their
Make it where it's
monitor.
user-friendly for
Yeah.
us.
And you didn't pay the last payment,
No.
right? And we
No.
still have the retainage.
That's why Camden was able to be hired.
I mean, but that's secondary.
Yeah.
I guess
Just
my
tell them it's pocket.
concern is with
Yeah.
everything going on in
Yeah.
our sweet little community.
Yeah, it's nuts.
I'm afraid, first and foremost, the safety of the kids and the staff and the teachers. We've been alerted by 2 parents now. I experienced my concern the other day, brought up tonight. We've got to do something like tomorrow morning. This is important. You can't just push it off until
Something happens.
they get here
Because it will
to
be.
fix the doors or whatever. When it gets to this point and you have people coming on campus that should not be here, and we have all the activity and a lot of folks we don't even know, they're not like us. I don't know these folks, okay? Not only that, but unfortunately, you have 54, you have 42, you've got 247, you've got the highway going to the interstate just right there at Zozo, and then just a little ways north, you've got I-40, 285. This is, yep, you got 60 just up the way. Start, based on what I've heard and what you've shared tonight, starting tomorrow, we either need to have an officer here on premises until we can get the security system fixed, or we need to also make sure somebody's watching the entrances. But if you have an active shooter come in, everything's done in a few minutes. And you guys know that. I'm just afraid.
We're not gonna have an officer here tomorrow, but I'm begging the sheriff to have more patrols, and it's not happening.
Luckily,
How do you get?
I've even talked to both county commissioners that are like-minded, and they said, well, we've
Can
And
you,
our representative?
can you hire a security officer?
We can't
Like,
afford to hire.
No?
Our insurance rate was double.
Yeah,
They're
they have to
super
appoint them,
expensive.
but yeah, they said that they restructured the deputies, and that, oh yeah, we were gonna be able to get one
can I
up
be
there. Well,
deputized?
Ooh.
Just asking that question.
Can she
Can I be
be
deputized?
But we can ask, because ours was retiring this year.
Yeah.
We do have.
I know
deputy
it,
You have
yeah,
to.
and you have a vacancy there, so
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
What's involved in that?
Oh, she'd have to go to,
Yeah,
There's training.
there's trainings to go through.
Yeah.
all right.
We could look at
I'm still
security
not happy.
outfits.
So what's the
Yeah.
plan?
Yeah.
You expect me to answer in 5 minutes a plan for tomorrow?
Well, I mean.
I can secure the doors tomorrow, but after the other thing, I will say this. Those issues were not, the first issue I heard about was today when I was in the elementary when I came. These issues have not been reported to us as the administrative team.
And why is that?
Ask them.
That was the first.
This is
time
the
I ever
first time
heard
that those issues have been
that one.
reported to me.
Then this one happened today.
Yeah, this one happened today. I was in the elementary when it occurred. I went and looked at the cameras. We cannot identify the person because he saw where our cameras were at and walked away backwards. I mean, basically knew where the cameras was and shielded himself so he was walking off.
And that was today?
That was
Today's.
for today.
I went and looked at the cameras immediately when I was found. But the other incidents they brought up,
See, that's very
That
concerning.
is,
That's
that just escalated the whole
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Yeah.
See, I would have had police here through the whole rest of the day, and police, I don't know, there's gotta be.
well, and
somebody
the other
to
thing
get-
that occurred too, Elena, today, it was after kids were off campus and their kids were out on the playground playing
That was teacher days
unsupervised
that were allowed.
during teacher days when I were there, and their
Yeah.
kids were out on the playground afterwards.
So you schooled
We did
that out
not
at
have
1:30.
supervising. We got out at 1 o'clock today as an early release, and this happened at 2 o'clock in the
So
afternoon.
part of the issue is staff not finding childcare for
Oh,
their children
so
during.
when that guy
That
was
wasn't
watching
shared.
KK,
Yeah,
that wasn't during school.
no,
That was not
It was
shared.
not during.
no.
No.
So that is,
I was there when it was announced in the building because I was over there at the PLC in the elementary building when it occurred. And I went and immediately I went outside. At 2 o'clock, we saw the figure in the one camera walking off campus, and all the angles that were for that part of where he was at, you can't get a direct shot on his face.
so that wasn't during school hours.
No.
But he walked backwards.
He walked backwards to a camera that we could have access to. And the other one's so far away we can't get a shot, but you could see when he was walking, he could see the building on there as he was walking off, and he walked like this, so you couldn't get a shot of his face back through the buildings. That's all I could see on the cameras, because the other one that was there was on the other part of the playground. He was walking away
failed
from
to
it. and we
mention
couldn't
that
get
it
in.
was after
Yeah,
school.
he didn't share
Yeah.
that.
Shared that, yeah.
And I mean, he should have shared that.
Yeah.
But beside the
So
point.
Yeah.
a fence is not gonna solve that problem because the gates are gonna be open after
Let
school.
me just share this.
Yeah.
I think we
I
need to do
mean,
a fence. And I don't think
Yeah,
we
thank
should
you.
allow, I'm sorry, because I was upset, because I used to go walk the track at Mountaineer on my lunch break.
Mhm.
They don't let anybody on their premises.
Yeah.
Even, they
guess
do
we
during
could
the
walk.
summer,
Yeah.
they unlock the gate, but they knew me, but
Yeah.
I mean, a
Yeah.
rule's a rule. And so nobody is
Yeah, we need a
allowed on the
fence.
Mountaineer premises unless
I
you go
talk-
through their gate.
Yeah, I talked to two contractors about getting up here in the next couple of weeks to look at the fence going around, because it's been on our radar
Yep.
to do it. We've been talking about it, and we've been focusing on the teachers in the building, and security was number 3 on that list. So
Well,
I did talk to
we
them.
started with security
Yeah.
hot and heavy when
Yeah.
they started this deal, and then
Yeah.
they've given us the runaround on
Yeah.
with this and that and everything else. But I don't think you need to fence the whole campus.
No, we won't.
I think you need to come off the elementary building over to that rock wall,
Yeah.
up towards the old, that way, just fence
Yeah.
Like the elementary.
the elementary
Yeah.
playground.
And there's that one little fence, that's not gonna stop. it.
No, that doesn't stop anything.
That just keeps the
Yeah.
guys on their bicycles out.
Okay, but my only suggestion there is you've
the kids
protected
pushed it
elementary,
down.
but what about your high schoolers that walk up to
They're
ag and come?
tough!
But,
Well, we could, yeah, we could,
But you
Let's
just
just put two
expressed
gates
concerns
in
on the
there.
high
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You literally have high
exactly.
schoolers
We'll
that walk
we gotta walk up there for ag.
building and back.
I guess we could build a tunnel.
And the other part during the day,
Yeah, I mean, I see.
I'll get to chip in my spare time.
the other thing is,
CT
I
training, mining.
mean, as we lay this out, as you look at this, the fence will be okay for the elementary, but we have kids going outside. How do you monitor access to our campus during the day when we're teaching, we're inside doing that
And
stuff?
you're doing your work.
Yeah, when they're doing their work, we just have to secure the buildings now. That's what we're gonna have to do.
Yeah.
And then when we go up there, do we send staff members with them to make sure?
I think that's the only solution with the high school going to
Yeah.
ag is it's
Mr.
gonna
John,
have to
or,
be.
Yeah, or
that,
over-
gonna have to stand out there.
Even over to PE,
No.
don't forget, they go outside for PE and across, it's a short distance, but though, there's a blind spot right here.
Oh, when they
Yeah,
go from here.
when
to-
they go
Yep.
from, yeah,
So,
Can you reroute?
a camera.
Instead of
or
going that way,
camera.
go-
that's what I can, well, CamNet's, yeah, after I talked to Ricotta and CamNet, we can look at refocusing and adding
Yeah.
Okay.
and doing those blind spots, because I don't think, the camera that shoots down there is actually up on the end of the elementary, and it does shoot down, but when you're in the corner, you can't see everything.
Portable
You
units
can
out
go
in
big.
all of our parking lots now. Those are all cameras.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Nice to meet you.
It was
very
nice to meet you.
Welcome to
Okay.
Madness.
yeah,
Have a good night.
Okay.
Be careful.
So, we're gonna work on the security system.
yeah,
So, sorry,
Yes.
what's the plan for tomorrow?
we'll secure the doors
High school will
down.
not be on campus, they will have a field trip, so they will be off campus. Elementary will lock the front door, all the other doors are secured.
I'm gonna be on the
Try to go
field
check
trip. though.
playgrounds
Yeah.
before they go out, there's always adults out there.
And the other thing we've had to do this year too, and we've yelled the staff one over again, they get very lazy because they don't want to pull their keys out, they put mats in the door when they go out to resource. And I've told them they had to stop over, and nobody will admit to what's going on over there.
When I found it, I
Yeah,
would.
I pulled mats.
Well, and in the high school too, we
I
have,
bring my
they
keys.
don't step out of their classrooms anymore in the hallway, and we've reminded and asked, and it's,
Well, I'm having a conversation with a couple, you can't say, Monica and Roxanne's done a really good job.
Yeah, Roxy's
And periodically, Tricia is out there,
but it's not a
But-
consistent, it's a
but
hit or
it's
miss.
not a consistent hit or miss because she's in, I don't get me wrong with Trish. She does a very good job tutoring our kids in between classes, and that's when she does that stuff. I don't want to interrupt that, but also at the same time, I gotta take some responsibility as well for the security of their building too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a change of culture, change of idea, and it's like, you guys have to be part of the solution too, because
Yeah.
the other incidents that were brought up, I found out a week or so afterwards. I was like you, Elena. I would have called police right away and had it investigated. But if you don't report it to an administrator and you go complain to somebody else that doesn't get
Well,
to us,
it's just like that family.
yeah,
They should have sent somebody over here right then to get you,
yeah.
or
And
to
ask
go
them.
in and get Randa and
Yeah.
ask them to please
Please,
leave.
yeah.
Well, but
Well,
that's-
the teacher should have done it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's not-
there's another.
They should have,
park-
whoever was.
Park by the pond with swings and picnic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You-
Yeah.
I mean,
And they are working on more. Nettie and Dylan have presented to the village for a whole, the basketball courts.
Yeah,
There's gonna be
pickleball,
all that down there so that this
So
doesn't
this
have to
doesn't
be
have to
used.
be used.
okay,
So
Okay.
that's tomorrow.
All right.
anything else?
Not at the moment.
Anything else? All right, let's go, I need a motion to go into executive session.
I'm going to executive session.
For real property matters, discussion, the purchase, acquisition, proposal of real property or water rights. Sorry. Motion been made and seconded to go into executive session over real property matters. All those in favor, Kyle?
Aye.
Alina?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
Aye.
Recording stopped.
8:45.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a lovely evening.
Bring your big stick.
What's left of it?
Yeah.
Or a bag of them rattlesnakes, just stick a bag of them rattlesnakes in the door.
Actually, bring your pistol.
I have a pistol.
You know, we just